Peace, peace. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Come on in. 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 What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Peace. What's happening, Philanius? Peace, peace. Peace, peace. Can y'all hear me? Mic check 1 2 1 2. We good? We straight? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Peace, peace, y'all. We just getting started. Just trying to make sure my shit together real quick. Shout out Healer. What's happening? Peace, peace. Creole girl, what's happening? Peace, peace. Welcome to the live. Welcome to High Learner Book Club. Peace, peace. Come on in, y'all. I was supposed to come on this morning, but I had something to do. Appreciate that, Queen. What's happening? Queen Kong in the building. Zay, what's good? Y'all do me a favor. There's 6 people in here. Just get 6 reposts going. Let's get 6 reposts going. Thank y'all for the gifts too. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. Proud Secret, what's happening? I don't know if I spoke to you coming in. Peace, peace, fam. Appreciate the reposts, y'all. Help me get through the algorithm. Peace, peace. We're gonna let some more people get in here before we get started. Just like I promised y'all to break down the soul food. We're gonna break down soul food today, in certain dishes. You know what I'm saying? I done did this one before, but I'm gonna do it again for a lot of the new folks who tuning in. A lot of y'all who just coming across my page and my lives and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'll blow the dust off of old gems for new folks any day. As long as we learning and growing together, you feel me? So peace, peace. So this is the topic of today. Breaking down the origins of soul food. Because it definitely didn't come from slavery or none of that crazy shit that they tell people and brainwash people to think. So we're going to get into it, and it fits the history that we've been learning. You know what I'm saying? All the Latinos, the Sephardics, the Moors, the Indigenous Americans, you know what I'm saying? It fits everything that we've been learning, right? So just peak game. And we're going to talk about a little bit more. What's happening, Dre? Dre Chosen, one in the building, y'all. What's happening, Mad Cat? So, and not just the soul food, but we're going to talk about a lot of other cultural things that we do today that has rooted in Indigenous and Latino community. You know what I'm saying? What's happening, Sosa? Peace, peace. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. Appreciate the gifts. Everybody coming in, y'all hit that repost button for your boy. I appreciate that. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hit that repost button, like the live, share the live. Man, peace. All is well. All is well. So all is well. So I hope this is a topic y'all interested in. We about to go down the rabbit hole to grandmama's old cookbook that comes from generations of just ancient American Sephardic / Moor history, right? And today we're gonna make a lot of it make sense for those who ever wondered, you know what I'm saying, where do a lot of this stuff come from that we do today, right? So peep game, we're gonna let a little bit more people get in here and we're gonna go ahead and get started. But if anybody got any questions while we're waiting, feel free to ask, you know what I'm saying, and I answer it to the best of my abilities. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. What's happening, Jezar? Shit, let's go. Louisiana here, by the way, New Jersey. Love to hear our history. Facts. Shout out to Louisiana. Shout out to Jersey. Shout out to all the Mississippians. Shout out all the Mississippians. We gonna get it in. We gonna definitely get it in. We're gonna let a little bit more people get in here though. But like I said, anybody got any questions, you can feel free to ask. Roll it if you got it. Y'all know how we get down. High Learning Book Club. So yeah, so just take this time to get everything you need: paper, pen, relos, papers. You know what I'm saying? Sophia's lettuce. Go ahead and twist them up. Relax. We about to get into a whole lot of information. And we're going to try not to get restricted in the process. You understand me? He said, already ready. You feel me? Mine too. Got to keep the pre-rolls on deck. What's happening, Stormy? Peace, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. What's happening, Nikki? What's happening, Lou? Wow. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. Appreciate the gifts. Shout out to Scorpio. Appreciate the follow. Central. Peace. Shout out to everybody that's in here. Yep. I ain't got no coffee right now. So, you know, just water and Sophia's lettuce. What's happening, Angelica? Peace. Thank y'all for that live gift. Thank you for that live gift. Appreciate it. Anything to get me up in them ranks. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it. Y'all hit that repost button for those who's just coming in so we can go ahead and get in that algorithm faster. And we can go ahead and jump into it. As y'all can see the topic on the backboard. Fire topic. I'm talking about, man, it's about to blow a lot of y'all tops back. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we putting it all together. We finally understanding the depths of our ancestry. We finally understanding the depths of our story, our history, right? It's more to grandmama saying that we was Indians and we wasn't slaves, right? She gave us the first little breadcrumb. You know what I'm saying? And we took it further with the genealogy, the history, and putting the puzzle pieces together to get a bigger understanding of what it really is. Man, we understand the side of history we own. We understand that we Mississippians, not because of the state of Mississippi, but because we are Mississippians. You understand me? Mound builders. All right? So just peep game, like the story is deep. We connecting all the stories. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, I got a phone call. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, I got a phone call. Hold on. All right, we back. Mic check 1 2 1 2. We good? We straight. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Y'all can hear me? The live good? Okay, cool. Yeah, that was Mom Duke's calling me. We good. What's happening, Gus? Peace. Gus in the building. Peace. What's happening, Debbie? Peace. Mississippi River used to run through Okaloosa. Yup, that's facts. Mississippian culture. What's happening, Capri? Peace, y'all. Peace. What's happening, Lilith? Peace. And Joe in the building. What's happening? Peace, everybody. See y'all coming in. Y'all hit that repost button for your boy, and we gonna take off. Roll it if you got it. Higher Learning Book Club. Higher Learning Book Club. All right, man. So what we doing is we just putting the puzzle pieces together. What's happening, 216? Man, we just putting the puzzle pieces together. Right? That's all we doing. Just putting the putting the puzzle pieces together, understanding history, understanding our culture, and how deep do it run, right? And what beautiful empires and people create our culture, right? So this is the purpose of the live, to help a lot of people get a deeper understanding of self, genealogy, ancestry, culturalness, you know what I'm saying? And the reason why we do a lot of things, okay? Y'all understand where I'm coming from? You know, I just got to make sure that we understanding where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, we all tracking. I don't want nobody off track. All right. Y'all understand it? Y'all follow me? Let me go ahead and get my Sophia's lettuce started real quick. Matter of fact, let me hit this water first. Right? Let's hit this water first. What's happening, Will? Peace, peace. Just in case, what's happening? Hey, I don't know what it is. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is, or I could be tripping, but when you leave that water in the trunk of your car in the wintertime, for some reason, it tastes a little bit more crisp than when you put it in the refrigerator. Or I could just be tripping. But I don't know, man. Something about that trunk water. What's happening, Lola? Peace, peace. I'm just making sure I ain't tripping. He said it tastes real nice, right? I don't know what be going on in that trunk in the wintertime, but that damn water do not be tasting the same as when you put it in the refrigerator, for real. That needs to be studied. That needs to be studied. All right, y'all. We got 35 people in here. Let's get 35 reposts. Are y'all ready to get started? All right. Y'all ready to get started? Let's get 35 reposts going. Y'all ready? Everybody paper plane together? Everybody got y'all water? All right. Here we go. Here we go. What's happening, Bryce? Peace, peace, fam. All right. So y'all know I got to do my intro for YouTube. All right. So what's happening? What's happening? It's your boy Signs Up for the Conscious Mind checking in. You already know what it is when I come across your For You page. Stop, tap in. Dope gems, dope historical facts. Y'all already know. So throughout this past week or months, honestly, we've been connecting the dots between American Indians, Sephardics, and Moors, who are called Latinos, and so-called Africans inside the story, right? We start understanding colonial times, colonial periods. We learned about black pilgrims, which are the same as the Latinos. Excuse me. You know, they the same as the Latinos. When we talk about black pilgrims, same people, Latinos, Sephardics, right? They just speak English. Okay. And we understand that a lot of them was absorbed and adopted into the tribe. We understand the history, the cultural connections, and everything like that. We broke down genealogy so people can understand that 9 times out of 10, when you see that European in your family tree, that is not a YT man, right? Most times it is a Sephardic or Moor or, you know, Latino, combination of the both, right? So please understand that. And the reason why I say that, because 80% of white Americans came during Ellis Island. So that leaves you a rough 15-20% of so-called YT people in colonial times. That is not enough. That is not enough to mix with American Indians and all this extra shit and black Americans, right? That's not, yes, be logical with the situation, okay? So we must understand history on a deeper note. We got to understand etymology, definitions. We got to understand how the words was used in colonial time and everything like that, right? If I'm reading the word Negro, and if I'm reading a book in the 1500s and they say the word Negro, I have to take the 1500 definition. I can't take the 2025 definition of what a Negro is, right? You got to take the 1500 so you can understand. And during those times, Negro didn't mean African. Why? Because in the colonial times, there was no continent called Africa, right? It was called Libya and Ethiopia, right? So-called Africa was a Roman province / country inside of the landmass, okay? So we also got to understand that when we talk about colonial periods to give us a better understanding of a whole lot of things, okay? Everybody with me so far? What's happening, Star Checker? Everybody with me so far? There we go. Y'all heard that lighter flick. Y'all know when that lighter flick in my lives. This shit like Lil Wayne in the booth. No ceilings. All right. All right. So let's start with the soul food. Because food is culture. Food traces back to heritage, ancestors, right? It is. If I tell you that it is cultural for me and my family to eat salsa and burritos and shit, you ain't gonna think I'm an English person. You ain't gonna think I'm Swedish. You gonna think what? I'm either Latino, Spanish, or Mexican. All right, so food is culture and is linked to ancestry. So yes, go ahead and start it off. So soul food is not a slave food tradition. All right, soul food is not a slave food tradition. This is how we starting it off. And you want to know how I know? Look at the soul food plate. Do you think slaves was getting beat in the fields all day and night, picking cotton and crops from sun up to sundown? And when they had a little bit of time to go home, you think they had time to make this? You think they was eating this? You know how long each dish takes to prepare? And then they try to say that we made soul food from the scraps. How you gonna make chicken from scraps? Now listen, how you gonna make drumsticks and wings from scraps? How you gonna make green beans and lima beans from scratch? What's happening, Cosine? How you gonna make cornbread? I mean, you can make cornbread from scratch, but not from scraps. Those are two different things. Yams, mac and cheese. These aren't scraps and leftovers that the so-called slave owner wanted to throw away. You know better than that. You watched your grandmama make this shit. Excuse my terminology, but you watched your grandmama cook this. Some of y'all just got done cooking this. Right? Some of y'all just got done cooking this. You used actual ingredients to make this, right? Now, when we talk about colonial days, the only way you can get these ingredients is if you was a farmer. Oh, yeah. Think about it. Only way you can make this is if you was a farmer and not a slave. Because this is farm food. Honestly, when you look at it, think about it. This is farm food. The yams is ready to harvest, pick them. The beans is ready to good, you feel me? The chickens, you feel me? The mac and cheese, cornbread, etc., etc. This is farm food. We come from farmers. All right? We come from farmers. This is not slave food. And another reason why I know it's not slave food, because most of us did our genealogy and most of us talked to our ancestors. Our ancestors and elders told us we wasn't slaves. At least for my ancestry and my family, we wasn't slaves. And a lot of y'all don't have a slave story either. And you ain't find no slave in your genealogy either. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying all of y'all, but most of us didn't. So how is this slave food if we wasn't slaves? What's that in Big Rico? Hell, some of us were slave masters, right, Chosen? Dre Chosen said, hell, some of us were slave masters, right? Those slave masters was what? Farmers. You see what I'm saying, Dre? Some of those slave masters, quote unquote, was what? Farmers, Indians. You know what I'm saying? P gang. And check it. If this dish came from Africa, what country do they have this cuisine in? What country can I go in Africa and the plate gonna look just like this? If they, you know, because they like to Africanize us and shit, right? Like, I'm talking about modern day Africanizers. What country can I go to in Africa where the plate look just like this? Let me know. What's happening, Two Gracious? Not now, right? Africans don't even like soul food. Most Africans don't even like soul food or have never tried soul food. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. Hope y'all enjoying it already. Appreciate the gifts. So soul food is not slave food tradition, right? It's not slave food tradition. And I'm trying to figure out how a tradition can deal with a slave, but it's not a slave food tradition. It is an indigenous American food system. It is an indigenous American food system. It is an indigenous American food system enhanced by Moorish, Sephardic / Ladino cooking styles, right? Cooking styles, right? So the food was already fire, right? I'm talking about the food was already Bombay fire because it was indigenous American. The Sephardics and the Moors, right? They came and enhanced it, right? Gave it that extra little spot, that little kick. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. It takes teamwork. Black Americans preserve a culinary science older than the United States itself. Black Americans preserve a culinary science which is tied to alchemy, right? If y'all don't know that, culinary science is tied to alchemy, because when you're cooking, you're turning one substance or object or molecules into something different, right? For an example, how you can turn, when you get, the cornmeal, the milk, the eggs, you put it in a bowl, stir it up, it's all liquefied, right? You put that liquefied into a pot or a pan, put it in the oven, it turns into a solid. Alchemy, right there in plain sight, right? You still do your alchemic sciences, right? You still do alchemy, just in different ways that you never thought of. But our culinary science is older than the United States itself. Now, here's a problem with this, not for us, but for FBA. Right? FBA like to say that this is their culture and they're the foundation of the United States. How can this be your culture when this shit existed way before the United States itself? What's happening, Tar Design? Peace, peace. A black man from Europe brought macaroni and cheese to the America. Yep. And that black man was Sephardics and Moors from the Iberian. Yep. Macaroni and cheese come from the Iberian. We gonna get into it though. Let's flip the page. If y'all want to get y'all screenshots, go ahead real quick. I'm gonna leave it up so y'all want to get y'all screenshots. Anybody got any questions? All right. Anybody got any questions? You say you need that source? Hey, man, look. Gotta hit that Gumroad link. Zay, gotta hit that Gumroad link. Link in the bio. Gotta talk to grandmama. Gotta do that genealogy. Understand history. This source is a source you gotta put together like a puzzle piece, right? Because a lot of our culture and a lot of our history is not always gonna be in the book. Some stuff we have to look at it and use what we learn and apply it, right? Once I started learning about Moor, Sephardics, and Indians and the food and the culture and stuff, I started looking at the soul food dish a little bit different. I was like, damn, hold on. And I started learning, okay, well, who brought macaroni and cheese over here, right? And it started telling you, the Iberian people, you know what I'm saying? Boop, 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 boop. You start learning about certain collard greens that grow in the Iberian and Europe, right? That was brought over here because we had mustard greens, and turnip greens and shit, right? Right? So once we start learning what was brought over here and what the pilgrim, because the pilgrims brought seeds and stuff over here as well too, right? So when we understand what the pilgrims and the Latinos brought over here, and we understand what the Indians contribute, right? Then you can sit back and, oh shit, okay, so boom. So cornbread, Indian bread, American Indian. Yams, American Indian. Okay, boom. Mac and cheese, Iberian, Moor, Sephardic. Fried chicken or fried type of bird, that's both indigenous and Moors. Moors brought deep frying over here, right? Because American Indians, right? Excuse me. As we was reading and learning, and culturally, American Indians, we do what? We barbecue, right? We smoked a lot of our stuff, right? We smoked, we baked a lot of our stuff, right? We rarely fried anything like that. But when the Sephardics and Moors came, right, we had the corn flour, we had the bird, they had the technique, right? So they brought deep frying. So we start deep frying the chicken. Start deep frying a lot of stuff, right? The brick oven, right? We had the brick oven because we was already baking stuff. They brought what? Pizza, bake pastas, bake spaghetti, pizzas, lasagna. You know what I'm saying? They start bringing all those Moorish and Iberian dishes that, guess what? Shit, we love those dishes still to this day, right? You know what I'm saying? So peep game, man, it gets real deep once you can, and this is what I mean by a lot of stuff in history. This is that gray area. That gray area is where you have to put the puzzle pieces together from everything that you just learned, and then you'll get the bigger picture like we getting right here. Right? So peace. I thought that the Scottish Highlanders invented the deep fried chicken. Remember, the Scottish Highlanders are still Sephardics and Latinos. They just Irish and Scottish, Moors and Sephardics. So remember, these are the same people, Lou, but facts. The same people. The Scottish Highlanders, who are still Sephardics and Moors, they was deep frying. That means all the other Sephardics and Moors was deep frying too, because it's a cultural thing with them. They just took it to different regions and was doing it. All right. They tried to tell us it stems from slavery and the foods were what we were given to grow. Man, yeah, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Ain't no slaves eating this. This is not slave food. Yep. I didn't mean to put from Europe. Went to Europe and came back. I get what you're saying, Dre. But yeah. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit more. Right? Let's go ahead and break it down. Let's go ahead and flip the page. But we got to start at the beginning. All right? Y'all don't mind that, right? I hope y'all don't mind. We got to start at the beginning, though. We got to start again, because there's a lot of new... What's happening, Derek? Because there's a lot of new people who's tuning in. There's a lot of people who missed my lives for a few days. So we got to do a recap real quick, and then we're going to get into it. So the recap, so a lot of people can understand this when you ask, a lot of who the fuck are the Latinos, right? So who were the Latinos? The real meaning, not modern Spanish class definition, because a lot of people will hit you with the modern Spanish class definition instead of the real meaning, okay? So, quote unquote, a Latino in the 15 and 1700s is a black or Moorish person, right? So-called black or Moorish person, right? El Negro, who spoke Spanish or Portuguese. You see, it sounds like Latino. Latinos are the forefathers and foremothers of Latinos. And not just Latinos, but Maroon communities, Creole societies, and even a lot of us Black Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because the story is, when they tell you the mainstream history or the European man laid down with the American Indian woman, what the unfiltered story is, Ladino Sephardic Moorish men were mixing with American Indian women, and they were having kids. These kids went by terms historically documented as mestizos, mulattoes, Afro-Indigenous, Afro-Latinas, Afro-Americans. These definitions, historically documented, were used they were used as a term to let you know that these were mixed Indians, right? These are mixed Indians, or half Indian, half Sephardics and Moors, right? So that's what these terminologies was, right? So that's why it sounds like Latino. All right. So let's keep going though. Let's keep cooking. So it did not mean white at all, right? Because this is why I say it's not modern class definition, because a lot of this modern whitewash history would try to tell you that these are white folks, right? But Latinos are El Negros, or Moors, who spoke Spanish or Portuguese. It did not mean white, and not even mixed, right? It meant so-called black or Negro, Moorish, Sephardic, Iberian cultural identity. Okay, Spain and Portugal used Ladino to describe Moors who converted or pretend to convert as Christians. That pretend part is very crucial, because our people been pretending to be Christians for so long that we kind of got stuck. Nah, real talk. Our people have pretend to been Christians for so long, we actually start believing it. Sadly, it happens. But the word Ladino was describing Moors, aka Sephardic Jews, who converted or pretended to convert as new Christians, right? Negro or Negro Moors who adopted Iberian customs, and Sephardic Jews who were expelled. These became your black travelers, merchants, navigators, sailors in history, right? All right, she said, we leaving now. Yeah, fast. I'm breaking that Christianity cycle with my bloodline. Yeah, a lot of us did. A lot of us are. You know, the moment that we really woke up to our ancestry and genealogy, man, been solidified. What's happening, Darker Void? It been solidified, right? A lot of our ancestors pretended to be Christian, because y'all got to think about the kids in the story. Our ancestors did whatever it took to save and protect the kids. So if I have to pretend to be a Christian in public to save my family and my children, guess what? Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying? I'm just being real. I'm just being real. If I gotta protect my kids from religious persecution and they was doing it rough, I'm talking about strange fruit and everything, y'all know how they got down. If I gotta do what I gotta, if I gotta pretend, you know what I'm saying? Shit, Jesus Christ, hallelujah. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and then when we get back into the village and the community, then it's all good, right? It's all good. But like I said, the problem is we've been pretending for so long that we kind of started losing ourselves. But that was the purpose, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, a lot of us still doing it. Yep. Even children, exactly, Lou. Even children got it, right? Forced conversions, you feel me? Right? So now, many Latinos were dark-skinned, right? Moors, right? Sephardics, Mediterranean people, right? Number two, the Latinos were among the first non-Indians in America. Okay, and we already read that, right? Black Latinos was the first so-called Africans in America, 1400s, right? Excuse me. A lot of them came with Christopher Columbus, Hernan Cortez, etc., etc. Of course, a lot of Latinos came with Christopher Columbus and Cortez and De Soto. Why? Because Columbus and De Soto and Cortez, all of them was Latinos themselves. They were Sephardic and Moorish people. This is what a Latino was. So it was a ship in 1492 of fucking Latinos who was being exiled. El Negros, Negros, right? Ended up in the Caribbeans. You know, most of them went to Brazil, right? When they talk about Brazil got the largest African population, Brazil got the largest Sephardic Moorish population out of everybody else, right? Brazil, then the Caribbeans, and then us in the United States, okay? So now you're starting to understand how to decipher this, okay? Now you start to understand how to decipher this. Now you know the so-called African isn't like your modern African like you think. Like, this ain't no random Nigerian nigga. You know, right? This ain't no random Ghanaian and Congolese person that some white tea man captured and sent. Man, that's bullshit. Trash that whole story. I'm giving you the real. Okay? I'm giving you the real. All right? What's happening, Christopher? Peace, peace. So the Latinos were among the first non-Indians in America, long before a large-scale colonization took off. Spain used Latinos as translators, right? What he said. Columbus had what? Translators that spoke Chaldean and Arabic and Hebrew. Woo, all right. Yeah. I bet he did, right? Spain used Latinos as translators, navigators, scouts, scribes, mariners, mixed Moorish Sephardic intermediaries, and personal for first contact. Okay? We just running down who these folks is so we can understand the cultural breakdown of the food and stuff, right? So P gang. So these Latinos, right? These Latinos, they interacted heavily with indigenous American tribes, especially Negro Indian tribes of the Southeast and Caribbeans. All right. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I appreciate all the likes, the love, the gift. Shout out to the subscribers. Shout out to the OGs, the in-betweens, the newbies. If you're new to the page, make sure you hit that plus button so you'll be notified every time I go live. Follow the page. Share it to somebody who you think might be interested on that side, right? Hey, and we got 54 people. Just get 54 reposts going, man. I appreciate all the love. So check it out. So these Latinos interacted heavily with indigenous American tribes, especially the so-called Negro Indians, right? Black Indians, right? Us, right? All right. Negro Indian tribes of the Southeast and Caribbeans. They blended in culturally, physically, and linguistically. All right. Listen to what I just said right there. They blended in with indigenous American tribes, culturally, physically. Right? Physically is very important. Right? Physically is very important because if I look at Moors and Sephardic Jews, they don't look like Siberians to me. And they don't look like Indians to the Indian. Right? So physically they blended in as well too. Right? And linguistically. Okay? All right? Okay? So they blended in. This is why many southeastern tribes had Iberian-style names. And guess what? It's 2025. A lot of us still have Iberian-style names. You always wondered where the ideas of names come from. Like, why do we culturally name our people these names? Elijah, Ali, Muhammad, Sharika, Shakana, Shaniqua, Leroy, or Leroy, which is French, Leroy, which in Spanish is Elroy, right? These are Sephardic and Moorish names, and I can keep going down the list, right? Y'all know the list. We say it all the time, right? These are Tyreek, like real shit. Tyreek, Tyshawn, Lushan is French. What else? Like, these aren't ghetto names. All your life, all these ghetto names. Why are we naming our people these ghetto names? That's because your ass was sleeping. You don't know culture because it was taken from you and nobody taught you. There's nothing ghetto about your name. These names are actually royalty names. Because who was the Latinos? The Latinos was your European royalty that got overthrown. Got hijacked by who? The Catholics and Christians and Anglo-Saxons, Germanic tribes who came conquering. So believe it or not, these are actually, and then when you research the meaning of these names will tell, this name means peace. Oh, this name means serenity, love, fire, warrior, blacksmith, right? These names actually mean something. You know what I'm saying? These ain't, there's no such thing as a ghetto name unless you out here naming your child Benz. or Hennessy or some shit like that. But we don't have ghetto names, y'all, and we gotta stop thinking like that too. All of that is to make you hate yourself by giving it a derogatory, hey, ghetto name. Now you walk around hating your name. Oh man, why they name me this? You know, all that crazy shit, man. Stop that. Love your name. Your name comes with an identity. And it's a reason why the ancestors blessed you with that name, because that's who gave you your name. Believe it or not, your ancestors gave you the name. When a woman is pregnant and she's giving birth, the veil between this realm and the ancestral realm is actually so thin that the woman do channels. The veil has to be thin for this soul that's been incubating to finally cross over into our material realm when it's time. So the veil is very thin. Believe it or not, a lot of our names come from ancestral memory. But we'll tap into a Gnosticism. We'll tap into a Gnosticism. What's happening, TR? What's happening? But just keep going, though. Just keep going. Y'all straight? Y'all good? Y'all following me? I ain't losing nobody. So they blended in culturally, physically, and linguistically. Language. Right? You blend in culturally, physically, and linguistically. So many southeastern tribes had Iberian-style names. Some tribes knew Spanish loanwords long before colonization. Some so-called black Indians look similar to North African Moors, right, of Mauritania. I showed y'all pictures of North African Moors before, the Berbers, right? They look like our sister. Right? And I still got the picture if y'all want to see some of them. But, you know, if y'all ain't never seen me show those pictures and you want to see them, just let me know and I'll show y'all. But they're telling you that some of these black Indians look similar to North African Mauritanians, Berbers, Tuaregs, Sephardics, right? So peep gang. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. This is why early explorers wrote that the Indians were like Moors. And when they said the Indians were like Moors, they was telling you that the Indians look like Moors, like phenotypically, right? Physically blended in, right? They look like Moors, if you need more of a description. So they always compare American Indians to other so-called Negroid people around the world. Just giving you a description of who the Indians are and what they look like. All right. What's happening, OGJD? Peace, y'all. Peace. Zay said, I ain't never seen him. I'll show you a picture of him in a minute. What's happening, Chief Mimi? There it is. So, just for an example, when they was like, yeah, some of the black Indians look like North African Moors. Now, this is a group of North African Moors, right? Berbers, Mauritanians. Okay? Some of them do look like our people inside our community. I'm not going to sit here and cap. The old man up front to the left, I know somebody granddaddy that looked just like him. He'll say he's Indian though, right? The brother two in the middle, right next to the OG in the front row, I know somebody that looked just like him too. Right? We can actually go through it and pick out some of our people in here. Old bruh right here sitting down with the damn banjo in his hand. Right? The little bad boy right there. Like, I see a few of our folks in here. So it ain't far-fetched, and this is the men. Okay? This is the men, right? I know a little boy that look just like this little boy, right? I know a little boy that look just like him. I got a cousin named Carlos that look just like him, right? So we're not saying all of them look like the Indians because, there's different phenotypes in everybody's culture. But they just saying like, bruh, the Indians, that's why they said some of the black Indians, they resemble North African Berbers. All right. Now let's look at the women. Let's look at the North African women of Mauritania, the Berbers, right? Remember what I always told you. Now let's look at them. Ah, yeah, they would easily blend in with the American Indian women. Oh, girl look like Serena Williams before her fucking up her face. Oh, yeah, the women would have definitely slid in. You know someone look just like her? Yeah, me too. I know somebody look just like everybody, every woman on here. Some of them look like my cousins. All right. So when we talk about Mauritanians and Berbers, Latinos and Moors, this is the description, the phenotype. These are actual Mauritanians, the indigenous people, right? Most people who don't know this history and Google, when you type in Amazigh Berbers, they're going to show you white people. Just like any other culture that erases indigenous people, right? When you type in Egyptian, they're going to show you white people. You type in American Indian, white people and Siberian people, right? They do this all the time, but we know better. And shout out to we know the truth, but we know the truth now, right? Gotta look deeper. Okay, but these are historically the Berbers and Mauritanians and Moors, and this is who you're talking about in history. And guess what? They're not Muslim. At least a lot of them fought hard against the Islamic invasion. To some tribes aren't Muslim, some tribes are. It just depends on their ancestry and their history, right? Some people got conquered by Islam, now they Muslims. Some people didn't get conquered and they still retain their sovereignty, okay? And it says it right here, right? Just so y'all know, right? Berber, you see it right there. Amazigh, meaning free men. Remember we read that yesterday. Free men. Latinos were also known as what? Free men, right? Peep game. Tuaregs. The Tuaregs were nomadic Berbers, right? They always moving around. Then you got the Mardi, Mauritanians, the Murs, the Moors. These are your historical Berber tribe in North Africa. All right? And they definitely look like us. And you got the Statue of Liberty woman right here, right? Y'all haven't peeped the headgear? Go look at the Statue of Liberty. Y'all ain't peeped the headgear? Come on. Peep the headgear. Peep the Statue of Liberty. Exactly. A lot of stuff be hidden in plain sight. All right? A lot of stuff be hidden in plain sight. She look like somebody's sister right here. Bottom left. Y'all see her down there at the bottom left. She look like one of y'all sisters. So when we're reading stories, right, and you read these books and they be like, the so-called Africans blended in with the Indians, or the Latinos blended in with the Indians, right? Physically, linguistically, right? And culturally. How could these people possibly blend it in with the American Indians culturally, physically, and linguistically? They said Christopher Columbus had translators, right? They said, my bad. They said Christopher Columbus had translators that spoke Arabic, Chaldean, and Hebrew. Why do you need those languages when you're coming to talk to American Indians? Nobody has yet answered that question. A lot of people run around that question. Everybody know who we are except us. The age of awakening is now, though. All right? The age of awakening is now. It's all about connecting the puzzle pieces, right? And this is the ancient Berber language, which is Phoenician. All right? For those, and I'm just doing this for those who never seen me break down Mauritanians, Moors, without using that crazy Noble Drew Ali bullshit that people be on, right? We doing it the real way, right? But their language is, their ancient Berber alphabet is very Phoenician, okay? It's very Phoenician, okay? So, yeah, man, yeah, and then check it out. When they say Hispania, right? When you type in Mauritania, another word for it would be Hispania down there. I'm trying to get it in right there. Hispania, y'all see that? You type in Mauritania, because remember what I taught y'all, right? Africa in colonial times consists of the northern part of this landmass that goes into the Iberia, South Iberia. All that was called so-called Africa, right? It's a Roman province, right? Hispania, right? Your Hispanics wasn't white folks. They was niggas, so-called, you know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but some people, you know, understand. I mean, shit, I like speaking hood terminology, man. Fuck it. Y'all understand it. Y'all understand it. So just keep going, though. Just keep going, because I just want to run that down. I don't want to hang on that too long. So, see where we at. Iberian style. Yeah, they were like, yeah, okay, boo. Just trying to find our place. It wasn't why. Okay, here we go. So, boom. Now, continuing on. So, most Latinos go by these terminologies and descriptions, and historical books will also help you understand who's who. But most Latinos, you know, dark skin, preferably Berber descendant, right? I just showed y'all Berbers. I just showed y'all the Berbers, the Amazigh, Tuaregs, right? Mauritanians, the Moors, the Moors, right? Historical Moors, right? I just showed y'all that. So Berber descendant, right? Moors, right? Some history books call them Afro-Iberians, right? Some books call them Jewish Iberians, Sephardic Jew Iberians, right? North African, Canary Islander, right? Is also heavy Moorish or Moor, right? When you talk about the Canary Islanders. And here's the crazy thing about the Canary Islands. They also got American Indian ancestry too. Oh yeah, the Canary Islands. A lot of American Indians got sent to the Canary Islands. And guess who was in the Canary Islands? The Sephardics and the Moors. And guess what? If you go look at Canary Islanders today, they look just like us. I swear to you, go look at Canary Islanders today. They look just like us. They look just like us, bro. Man, look, I ain't playing. They look just like us. And they have a carnival and shit too. Just like us. So peep game. So to indigenous Americans, especially the Negro Indian tribes, Latinos look like same people going back and forth. Facts. So to indigenous Americans, Latinos, right? Latinos, Sephardic Jews and Moors, they look like allies or cousins from another ocean, not invaders. That's why I've been trying to tell people, we got to understand, when you talk about so-called dirty Moors, you're talking about people who's not even historically Moors, right? You're talking about Turks. The Ottoman Empire and Turks, those aren't Moors. Just because them niggas is Muslim and shit like that, they're not Moors. Turks, them niggas is Caucasians, genetically. Turks, Armenians, Caucasians, the Slavics, Russians, Mongolians, Gog, Magog, those niggas ain't Moors. The Moors was fighting those niggas in Germany, but they're not Moors. The reason why you will find pictures of so-called Moors with the fez on, because the fez let you know that they were prisoners of war. They were soldiers of the Ottoman Empire. And when you're a soldier of the Ottoman Empire or POW, you have to wear the attire, right? If you sign up for the U.S. Army as an Asian person, you have to wear the United States Army uniform. And that's all that is. And you know what's crazy is those so-called people who spreading false Moorish history, they know that. They read that in their studies and they ignored that purposely. So if you ever in history find a so-called Moor with the Turkish fez on, it comes from them being a prisoner of war in the Ottoman Empire as soldiers. That's all it means. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. What's happening, Niji Minds? Peace, peace. Look up. What's good? Y'all with me? Y'all good? Anybody got any questions? Because they said that the indigenous Americans looked at the Latinos as allies, cousins from another ocean. Why would they say cousins from another ocean? Right? Not invaders. This made intermarriage happen fast and early. The colonizer gave you the story of something crazy, which means anything that the colonizer give us, we have to throw that shit out or take it with a grain of salt. The only reason why you think that Europeans came over here and they did all this horrible shit to the American Indians is because that's what white folks told you in the McGraw-Hill book. That's how they teach the story. They lead off with some traumatic shit, which is actually far from the truth. And they tell you a crazy version of slavery to certain words trigger certain things in your brain. Like before you woke up and you start understanding history, when I came to you and I talk about a colony, you would think about black people being whipped by white folks. Yeah, bro, in the colony. Oh, yeah, it's slavery, nigga. Your mind automatically go there, but that is not the definition of a colony. A definition of a colony is a group of individuals working together to build something, like an ant colony, like a beehive, right? Colony. It doesn't mean nothing bad. It just means people are building some shit. These people, ironically, happen to be Indians and Latinos. Well, hold on, Los. Them niggas was going to WAR with Indians over there to build the colonies. What Indians? How you know they wasn't going to war with the Siberians? Y'all totally forget that Siberians was over here in colonial times, right? And you was fighting these niggas before the Europeans came. So how you know the Latinos who look like you, talk like you, walk like you, goddamn Indians look at them as cousins from over the oceans, right? How you know your cousins didn't come over here and help you whoop the Siberian ass? And they was getting their ass whooped so bad that they had to side with the YT people that came over here. As you see today, they side with the YT people over here. Put 2 and 2 together to get 4. Don't overcomplicate the mathematical math problem. All right, we're going to let it breathe for a second. Peace, peace. So they wearing a red bucket on their heads saying that they're prisoners. Today's time, yes. If you wearing that fez on your head, that just means that you was conquered by the Ottoman. That fez ain't even stylish at all. That shit tacky. Excuse me, that shit tacky as hell. For real, you know that shit ain't ours. That shit tacky as hell. All through history, Moors have been flashy. Nigga got earrings, golds, necklaces. Nigga got turbans on. They got waves, locks. You know what I'm saying? And then all out the blue, they got a red bucket hat on their damn head. That shit ain't even drippy at all. That shit screen conquered. What's happening, Chief? Chief Smoke 'em in the building. All right. Man, shout out to everybody that's in here, man. Let's keep going, though. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, Ladino presence helps explain why Black Americans find more Indigenous American ancestry than DNA companies admit, because the Ladino Indian mixing happened before racial recorded systems. All right. The reason why you got more Indigenous American ancestry than DNA companies admit, because they know, it's because you fit the history that they tried to whitewash. And B, the so-called European ancestry that doesn't come from white Europeans, because that European in your genealogy is really Sephardic and Moorish Iberian. All right, my bad. I ain't mean to send that invite. Y'all heard me? That European in your genealogy records isn't a European like you think. We talking about colonial times, right? Don't come to me and talking about, nah, Los, that shit mean a white person. Look, and I'm looking at your genealogy, that motherfucker say like 1893, 1865. You know what I'm saying? 1910. Like, I mean, shit, of course that nigga might be white. You feel me? But when we talking about colonial times, 1400s till like 1840s, you know what I'm saying? 1850s, really, right? That time frame. You know what I'm saying? That European wasn't really white folk. They was actually Sephardics and Moors, right? Because when you look up white, it says what? Original peoples of Europe. The only original people of Europe is actually who? Sephardic. Moors. Right? So-called Black Europeans. Original. And when you look up Black's Law Dictionary, free white persons and white persons, it meant Sephardics, Moors, Iberian inhabitants, Celtic mixed with Iberians, and everything except for a Caucasian. So we got to understand that too. All right, facts. You said it's true, Los. My dad told me he was Black and Indian, not white, but he meant Sephardic and Indian. Yeah, facts. That's facts, Lou. This is why when you go to the Caribbeans and stuff like that, Black is automatically translated, and you know that's why I say that. You know, you Black. Nah, I'm Mordano, I'm Mordisco. They're telling you like, nah, like I'm not Black, and it's actually kind of derogatory too. You know, if you keep calling a motherfucker Black, you probably gonna have to see somebody in the streets. But nah, I'm not Black. I'm Mordano. I'm Mordisco, right? Meaning I'm brown, or I'm a descendant of Latinos. You know what I'm saying? So that's why that goes like that. But another term after a while was Black eventually. You know what I'm saying? Black. So yeah. You said, what about the Anglo-Saxons? What about them, Turtle Creek? What about them? Let me flip the page real quick, man. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I hope y'all enjoying the live. Work kind of really hard on this breakdown. So I hope y'all enjoying it. The Anglo-Saxons, they did come a little bit later. They start coming in like okay, so when I say 80% of white Americans came from Ellis Island. Now we're talking colonial times, we talking like probably about 15-20% YT people. at this time. They were Christian / Anglo-Saxons, right, for the most part. And they were Christians. And they were slaves in most times, or slaves who's rebelling, right? Because in religious crusades, you know, you had Muslims enslaving Christians, Christians enslaving Muslims, you know, Judaism, right? So you had that going on. So this is why this is where books like White Cargo come in at, right? When you're trying to fill in the gaps of, okay, if it's all melanated, then where do so-called white people come in at, or white Anglo-Saxons come in at, right? All right, so we know that Black pilgrims and Latinos came 1400s, right? Who did they bring? They brought their prisoners, their slaves, their Slavs, right? That's who they brought with them over here. So that little 10 to 20% of YT people that was over here, they were slaves, right? You got white cargo, white indentured servitude. You got they were white slaves. You got Christian slaves, Muslim masters. You got white slaves in England. Man, and it's a few more books that talk about so-called white slavery. So during this time in early colonial periods, a lot of them was actually slaves at this time, and a lot of them was running from slavery. They kind of gave you their story. Nah, for real, they kind of gave you their story, right? When they reconstructed history, they swapped positions with you inside the story. So this is why when we do our genealogy, most of us actually don't have slave or come from slaves. So if most of us didn't come from slaves, then who was the slave? Right? So that's all that is. Now, when you talk about Black Anglo-Saxons or melanated Anglo-Saxons, then you talking about a different time period, right? Because even earlier than colonial times, Black Anglo-Saxons was enslaving the white ones. You know, before the Anglo-Saxons and Germanic tribes ever thought about conquering anything else, they was conquering each other. You know, they was going to war with each other for a long time, and they was going to war with the German Moors, right, for a long time. And then, you know, they eventually started going off, but that's going way left than what the topic is tonight. So I don't really want to go too far about the origins of the Anglo-Saxons. We'll just put a pin in it, and I'll bring the book up probably tomorrow or the next day, and we'll read about the origins of the Anglo-Saxons. But, you know, facts though, right? But they did come around, like, the number started increasing around like late 1700s going into the 1800s. That's when a large number of, you know, so-called YT people start coming in, or at least their children for that matter, because they were sending their children over here, running from slavery over there. This is why a lot of the so-called orphan trains, or YT orphans, were called refuge or refugees and stuff like that. And we were running the government at this time, so we were giving them refuge. You know what I'm saying? We was like actually trying to save them from being enslaved and shit over there. You know, helping them out kind of backfired on us later on in the end. But let's keep going though. What's happening, the bees? So now, the cultural overlaps between Indigenous Americans, Sephardics, and Moors is this, right? The cultural overlap. See, like Indigenous American plus Sephardic equals dietary patterns, right? Some of our diets and diet patterns and fasting and all of that, it comes from a lot of Indigenous and Sephardic dietary patterns, especially fasting and stuff, right? Because remember who the Sephardics are. Sephardics are biblically Israelites, right? And in Judea or Judaic culture, right, or religion or whatever, they fast, just like Muslims with a Ramadan and all of that, right? And Indians also fasted as well too, as a health thing. So that was a cultural connection with that. So it created dietary patterns. You understand me? Hoodoo, which is similarities, right? Hoodoo, indigenous, right? We learned that hoodoo is an Indigenous American spiritual practice. So hoodoo has similarities to Iberian folk magic, right? So the Iberians love the hoodoo, and the hoodoo in the Iberian folk magic actually links up. The reason why there's similarities between the hoodoo and the Iberian folk magic is because they both deal with serpent worship, right? What's that name? We've been original, right? Hoodoo and Iberian folk magic, right? Because we learned about the Iberian folk magic with the study of Ur Chaldees, right? Serpent wisdom, sun, so-called sun worship or sun gazing, all of that type of stuff. So this is where a lot of the similarities is, right? Call and response chants and stuff, right? And using herbs. Peace. What's happening? All right. So now, Indian tribes using Ladino, Judeo, Spanish symbols in some of their practices in hoodoo rites, right? Because the cultures have started blending. So you will have Indian tribes using Ladino, Judeo, Spanish symbols, especially in Latin America areas, okay? When you're dealing with Santeria, okay? So clan structures resembling Berber Amazigh patterns, right? The clan structures resemble Berber and Amazigh patterns, right? So-called Black American English, right? Black American English, right? AAVE, Ebonics, the shit that we be talking today, right? The shit that I'm talking to you right now, right? So-called Black American English, it actually carries Iberian rhythm patterns. You see how I just broke that down to you in a rhythm pattern? Actually, matter of fact, you hear the rhythm when we talk because it is so natural. It is so natural that we don't even think that we speaking in a rhythm, right? But in reality, if you actually listen to yourself talk and listen to others talk, we speak in a rhythm, a pattern, a cadence. That shit damn near sound like rap if we throw a beat behind the way that we talk. You know what I'm saying? So peep game. A lot of this stuff comes culturally and ancestrally. We still sound like our ancestors of yesteryears. That is a fact. So now you got indigenous drumming and Moorish rhythm systems, right? These are what we call cultural overlaps, meaning blending and fusing of cultures. All right, blending cultures. Okay, so many Black Indians, right? So-called, quote unquote, right? Many quote unquote Black Indians equal indigenous and Sephardic or Ladino bloodlines. That is a fact. A lot of us did our genealogy, right? That so-called European in your family line is not a white man or a Caucasian like you think he is, right? Because it's not. That is literally a Ladino, a Moor. Trying to find a Moor in the Sephardic was right there in your face the whole time. You just have to use clues because even they were reclassified on census. It wasn't just the Indians. It was indigenous people, Negroes, whatever you want to call it. We all got reclassified. The Latinos and the Indians. It's a fact. It's a fact because of the cultural connection. Okay? So, many so-called Black Indians equals indigenous and Ladino bloodlines. This is why the old census categories had labels like Negro, Ladino, Spanish, Negro, Black, Portuguese, Free Moors, Colored, Creole, Musty, which is an Indian and a Moor, Melungent, Maroons, Black Jews, and Seminole Negroes. And we know that to be true because we read and seen them ourselves. We did our genealogy. A lot of us seen some of these classifications depending on what region you in. Right? Peace, y'all. What's happening? Y'all good? Y'all straight? Anybody got any questions? I don't want to lose nobody on this ride in this roller coaster. I know some of y'all waiting on that soul food breakdown. We almost there, y'all. Hang on. Before we can get into our modern day culture, we got to break down the ancestry to see where everything comes from. Because yes, we are American Indians at the base and at the root of everything, but the admixtures added a little spice to our culture, right? It made it very addicting for a lot of people to pretend to be us. Now you starting to understand why everybody pretending to be us. You ain't never wondered why you, as a black American, are the only ones who get mad when Italy, Spain, Sicily, Sweden, and all these other European cultures dress up in blackface and pretend to be the Moors? Y'all ain't never pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Next time it come around, pay attention to that. The Africans don't even be mad at them up. They don't even be mad. Some of them don't even be knowing that shit be going on. You be the only one fired up. That shit racist. Even the so-called black folks in Europe don't even be mad. We be the only ones, man. What the fuck? Man, that shit, man, take that shit, man. That shit need to change. We be mad at a motherfucker. You don't even know that's your ancestral memory that's mad. Because why are you mad for? Why are you mad? Why is it offensive to you? Why is it offensive to you? Why it make you mad? Why it make you mad and not the regular ass Africans? Nah, for real. If I'm wrong, y'all say I'm wrong. It's 65 people in here, just get 65 reposts. But if I'm wrong, say I'm wrong. I be feeling offended a little bit. I ain't even gonna care to you. I be feeling offended a little bit. I'm like, hold on, bro. The fuck going on over here in Italy? Y'all just gonna let that shit go down? Y'all ain't mad about that? That shit tough. What's that in, bro? Man, that shit be tough. But anyway, so on old census records, right? Colonial census records, state census records, federal census records, because all three of those are different because they happen at different times. A lot of people only know about federal census records, right? 1790. But state census records exist. Colonial census records exist, right? And we got to understand that too. Okay? So this is why on old census records in colonial times, there were old categories and labels and everything like Negro, Ladino, Spanish Negro, Black Portuguese, free Moors, Creole, colored Creoles or Creoles of color, right? Musty, which is an Indian and a Moor, right? The Melungeons, Maroons, Black Jews, Seminole Negroes even, right? So Pete gang, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We cooking. We slow cooking right now. All right, we slow cooking. So we had all those labels in the beginning, right? Right? But then it changes. They stop calling us these things. Right? They stop calling us these things. And then eventually all these groups were indigenous Americans with Ladino and Moorish heritage. These are indigenous Americans with Ladino admixture. So at the basis, you are Indian, right? You're not 75% sub-Saharan African like they tell you. They telling you it backwards, right? You're like 75 to 90% American Indian. The European and the African is the same people, Latinos. So you're 25, right? You're between 10 to 25% Ladino. Do it make sense now? Remember, they telling you everything backwards. Now it makes sense and it matches your genealogy. You're 75 to 90% indigenous American blooded. And you're about 10 to 25% Ladino blooded. So you are indigenous Americans with Ladino heritage. For those of us who find it and understand our genealogy and what I'm saying, You know, got to come with disclaimers, right? Got to come with disclaimers. So the United States later erased this mixture. Okay? They started erasing this mixture. The United States later erased this mixture by forcing people into Negro, mulatto, black, and colored to hide indigenous identity. They wanted to hide the indigenous identity. All right. Peace, peace, Mon Dukes in the building. Chubby in the building. She finally learned how to send a gift. Appreciate that, Mom. But yeah, they erased this mixture. And they just forced everybody into the Negro, mulatto, black, and colored category to hide the indigenous side of you. Right? To hide the indigenous side of you. So, the bigger picture. So the bigger picture is this, right? So the bigger picture is this. Latinos didn't just visit America. They actually helped shape the early populations of places like Florida. Okay? Some of y'all from Florida. Right? Some of the places like Florida. They helped shape early populations like Florida, Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, and the Caribbean islands. We always wonder why our culture was kind of, very similar. Well, here's the similarity. It's because of the shared ancestry. This is because of the shared ancestry. Believe it or not, us and the Caribbeans are cousins. Us, y'all gonna hate me for saying this, or y'all gonna feel some type of way. But not just us and the Caribbean brothers and sisters, but guess what? You, us, and the other Latin Americans, right? Y'all know. They your cousins too. They just your... If I had to put it in genealogical sense, what's happening? Be for all, peace, peace. If I had to put it in genealogical sense so everybody could understand, us and the deep melanated, right, Afro-Mexicans, Afro-Latinas, our melanated Dominican brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying? These will be our first cousins. Right? These are first cousins, right? When we're dealing with melanated Latin America, right? These are first cousins. When you start getting into the Bloqueamiento Latin America, those are like your third and fourth cousins. Nah, for real. Because on that side of history, that's where the YT people start coming in at, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Or some of the Arabs start coming in some of these places. And I do mean Arabs, right? Like white Arabs, Habibi and them at the smoke shop, right? A lot of them start being sent to certain places in the Caribbeans and everything like that as well too. Not all, but certain places will have, little YT Arab DNA up in there. You know what I'm saying? You ever run across them Puerto Ricans and shit? Like, I'm not being racist, but I'm just saying what I've seen. You run across some of those YT Latin American niggas be like hairy than a motherfucker. You be like, God damn, nigga, I put a turban on your ass. I don't know, man. You might be Habibi. That's because genealogically, he has Habibi in his ancestry. Okay? So just understand that. So this is why I say the melanated is our first cousins. All right? When you get into the Bloqueamiento side of things, those be like your, third cousin, fourth cousin. You know what I'm saying? Second cousin removed twice because they be doing some crazy shit, backdooring you, siding with the ops and shit. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that to help you understand. Y'all get it though? What's happening, Libra? Peace, peace. Y'all get it? Y'all, please tell me y'all get it. I'm trying to explain this shit the best way I can. Hey. So peace, peace. You said confusing melanin with Afro origin is crazy work. Well, I'm not confusing melanin with Afro origin at all. You're Apache. So you are literally a Siberian, right? Nadane. This part of history ain't got nothing to do with you, Mr. Apache, man. Your people were not on this side of the map. Okay? I don't know why Siberians are worried about the Southeast. Y'all should be worrying about Canada and Alaska and shit. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, though, shout out to you. It's been a long time no see. You might have took a long break off of TikTok, but I ain't see you in a while. But anyways, though, so it helped shape these early populations of Florida, Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, and the Caribbean islands, right? And these populations eventually became the ancestors of many Black Americans. Notice it said many. I ain't say all, right? I ain't say all, but many Black Americans, as we're finding out today with genealogical research. Okay? So when people say so-called African plus European mix, the real truth is often Indigenous and Ladino mix. Okay? It's actually Indigenous American and Ladino mix. All right? So we're going to let it breathe for a quick little second, because we get into the next slide. Y'all good? Y'all straight? Go ahead and roll it if y'all got it. Pour it if you got it. Go and get you a little water break. Right? Anybody got any questions on the last section? Because what we're doing is we're connecting the dots of our culture. We're running it down historically. We're finally coming to understanding of where a lot of these things that we do every day on a day-to-day basis come from, originate from. You know what I'm saying? We understanding why that mac and cheese was so good that grandmama be making. We understand why that cornbread is so good, because that cornbread is Indian bread. And that fry bread, the Apaches don't know what cornbread is. The Athabascan tribes don't know what cornbread is. I seen a video with some of them putting raisins in their cornbread, G. It broke my heart. It broke my heart. I'm watching the video. I'm talking about these folks on the reservation put raisins in the cornbread. I'm over here crying my Indian tear. Like, no. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't put raisins in cornbread. That's not how the ancestors do it. Right? Exactly. He said white folks taught them that shit. Man, look. I don't know who taught them that shit. But they need to unlearn that shit. They need to come back home to their melanated brothers and sisters that they rejected for so long. The moment they reject us, the moment the YT people took over. But that's a whole nother live for another day of how we helped them and we saved them from the YT man plenty of times. But that's another live for another day. So roll it if y'all got it, man. I'm about to take this intermission break to slap this water real quick. Go ahead and twist me up one last paper plane for the ride of this life. Yeah, they always been closer to the YT people. The sad thing is they be trying to deny it. They be trying to deny how close they are with YT people when we can watch powwows with them and YT people. Like, I'm literally watching a powwow with them and YT people having a good old time screaming at each other and shit, drumming. And then they be the same people hop on live like, we ain't got no white people around us. That be you guys. Bro, I just seen your powwow you came from, bro. Those were light-skinned natives. Well, that is a Slavic baby, bro. That is, okay, all right. All right. I forgot you guys are, you're right. That is, you're actually right. That is a light-skinned native, G. You know what I'm saying? A light-skinned Slavic person. I got you. Because you guys got a little tint to y'all. Y'all like tinted Slavic. And they're lighter. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Oh, man. Yeah, many of them are Turk. Yeah, a lot of them got Turkish ancestors and everything. That's facts. A lot of them got German, Russian, Turk. A lot of them got Mongolian ancestors. They are the Siberians. When you research, and I promise you, write this shit down, remember it. When you research Siberian population, it's not Mongolian like people on TikTok and social media think, right? When they type in Siberian, they be quick to show you like a Jackie Chan motherfucker. But when you do your research, and you can do it right now, and it's public knowledge, Siberian populations are 85% Slavic. Let that marinate in y'all brain real quick. Siberian populations are 85% Slavic. The Mongolian is actually the minority number of the Siberian population. So, what I'm telling you is that there's more YT people who came over that land bridge than you think. And the Mongolian featured natives just tagged along with them when they was coming over here. This is why they're so close, because they came over here together. Oh, real talk. I'm telling you some real shit. That's why they so close, because they came over here together. The natives are the children to the Caucasian. It takes an East Asian and a Caucasian to create your so-called First Nations. That's the mixture. Real shit. That's the mixture that makes a Native American. East Asian and Caucasian. The babies are so-called natives or so-called paleo Native Americans that came across the land bridge. And YT people came with them. That's true. Look at them. Exactly. When they got here, they started off in Alaska and Canada first, and then they start migrating their way down. Some of them settled in the plains area. Some of them settled the Pacific coastline of California. You know, some of them settled in Arizona, Colorado, Washington, Dakota, and a little bit of them came down here towards Mississippian territory. When you talk about the Apaches and the Navajos, they came down around like 1300s and 1400 AD, right? Colonial times, where a lot of the Apache and Navajo start actually coming down. So yeah. So let's keep going. What's happening, CR? Peace. So let's keep going, man. I just had a sip of that water. Y'all good? Y'all straight? Let's go. So now we talking about, right? We're talking about the culture. We're talking about Black American, modernly Black American culture. We understand that some of us is Indians mixed with different tribes. We understand some of us are Indians with admixtures, right? Just because you got an admixture, that don't mean that you're biracial or hybrid or whatever, right? Because I can still be 75 to 90% Indigenous American and still have 10 to 25% Ladino admixture, right? It doesn't change the fact that I'm still Indian, right? Because we don't do no blood quantum, right? That's that eugenics bullshit, okay? We understand our ancestors. We honor thy ancestors so we can continue being blessed and protected by thy ancestors, no matter who your ancestors are, okay? So we got to understand that as well, too. What's happening, K-Real? All right. So start with the foundation, all right? We got to start with the foundation of our culture, our identity, our genealogical records. We got to start with the foundation. The foundation is Indigenous America. This is what we all learning and waking up. All right. This is what we all learning and waking up to. What's happening, Tylee? Peace. 70 people in here, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all go ahead and hit that repost for me. And if you're new to the page, go ahead and follow the page too, so you can be notified every time I go live. Welcome to High Learner Book Club. Roll it if you got it. So we got to start with the foundation, and I hope there's some FBAs in here listening, right? So we got to start with the foundation of our culture, our identity, which is Indigenous Americans. Indigenous Americans, that's the foundation, that's the base, that's the roots, okay? Indigenous Americans. Before any European country had fully formed, the Americas had Negro Indian tribes, right? Deep spiritual traditions, rhythmic musical systems, agricultural technologies, social clan structures, herbal medicine systems, hoodoo rooted spiritual sciences, storytelling traditions, oral language patterns with complex rhythms and tonality, right? Tonality. When they say tonality with the language, is what we still do today, right? How we can say one word and it can mean different things. You just gotta listen to the tone. Tonality, right? I can say, what's up? Right? Hey, what up? And you'll be like, hey, what up, man? Hey, what up? Or I can say, shit, what's up? The tone change. You, hey, man, you good? No, nigga, what's up? Like, what you trying to do? Right? Different tones change the meaning of the word. You got to pay attention to the tonality. A lot of people get cussed out by Black Americans because y'all not paying attention to our tone. I'm just being real. Okay? Now, for real, for real. All right? And even us saying stuff like for real, repeatedly, that's rooted in indigenous language as well, too. The founders of tonal language, which is the oldest language. Yeah, facts. It's true. You know what I'm saying? So, Pete Gang. So, oral languages patterns with complex rhythm and tonality. These communities were urban, maritime, agricultural, and civilization leveled organized. This is the base of our indigenous American identity, the foundation. All right? The foundation. Go ahead and get y'all screenshots in. Y'all know. Go and get y'all screenshot in. Appreciate the follow, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for the likes, the love, the gifts, too. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to all the new supporters and everything like that. Hope y'all enjoying the live. Welcome to High Alert Book Club. Okay. Yep. There it is. There it is right there. I gotta hit that gas indigenously before we keep going. All right, so now we understand the foundation. Let's keep it going. All right, because this is the indigenous base, right? What we just read is the indigenous base, the foundation. Everything that came later fused into this base. Not the other way around like mainstream tell you, right? It wasn't the other way around like they tell you. Indigenous American, us, is the base. Okay? We are the base. We are the foundation. Everything that came later fused into the base, the foundation. Okay? So now we getting into number 2, right? Then the Latinos arrived. All right? What was it? Negro, Indigenous American Indians, right? Black Indians. We already know about that. We already know. Now the Latinos arrived. The Moors and the Sephardic Jews, right? So-called Afro-Iberians, right? Right? So-called Afro-Iberians, right? But we know that these are Latinos. Then the Latinos came. Okay? I'm saying that OG tribe, peace. When the Latinos entered the Americas early 1500s, 1400s, but 1500s, right? They brought from the Moors, right? This is what they brought, right? Coming over here. This is what they brought. They brought complex rhythm cycles, similar to later blues timing, right? The timing of blues. They brought string instruments, traditionally early banjo, right? They brought the banjo. Who brought the banjo? The Moors. I got a picture of a Moor playing the banjo. I show y'all that all the time. With the American Indian woman, right? Banjo, all right? So they brought cosmology and mysticism. They brought mathematical calendar science, and desert and coast survival knowledge. Okay. So this is what they brought with them. All right. That was from the Moors. That's what the Moors brought. Okay. Remember, the Indian is the base. We're building the foundation. Okay. Of who we are today. So next is the Sephardics. What did the Sephardics bring? What did they bring? What did they add? Right? They add lament style singing, almost identical to spirituals. So they're telling you that the Sephardic Jews, when they were singing back in colonial days, it sounded like spirituals, right? Negro spirituals, right? Way in the water, all that, right? Swing low, sweet chariot. Lament style singing, identical to spirituals. Sephardic. Why do it fit Sephardic? Because historically, they are the Hebrews, or the Israelites. So it makes sense of the style of singing. Okay? The mystical numerology, the coded language traditions, right? The parables when you're telling stories, right? Community identity structures, Torah storytelling patterns, later echoing in Baptist sermons. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? They said oral Torah storytelling patterns, similar to later echoing in Baptist sermons. So a lot of us that grew up Baptist, the way your preacher would preach, the cadence, the tone, and God said, let there, you know what I'm saying? All right. Make it make sense. We connecting the culture. From the Iberian, right? Y'all for real. From the Iberian, so-called Afro-Mauritanian culture, you get maritime knowledge. You get poetic speech cadence. You get percussion patterns. You get folk magic traditions, which are parallel to hoodoo and brujeria. Okay? The key points is Latinos were culturally capable with Negro Indians. Same complexion range, right? Same complexion range, similar rhythm-based traditions, similar clan styles, and similar spiritual cosmology. Now, let me ask y'all a question. And I want y'all to be totally honest. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. Why would the Latinos and the so-called Negro Indians or American Indians, why would they have the same complexion range, similar rhythm-based traditions, similar clan style structures, similar spiritual cosmology? Why would everything be similar between Latinos and American Indians? Remember, Columbus had Latino translators to speak with the Indians. But remember, Columbus was a Latino himself, so he probably already knew these languages. Why are they speaking this tongue, and why are the American Indians understanding them? Where y'all at? Why would all this be similar? Why would it all be similar? She got that sauce said because they descend from engines. Okay. Gus said same people. Okay. Come from the same Big Mama house. Facts. 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 They all came from the same big mama house. Ain't you and your cousin similar? Ain't you and your first cousin similar? If I go to your house and your first cousin house, wouldn't y'all have similar ways of having your household? What's happening, Daddy? Oh, peace, peace. They only came back home. They only came back home. There we go. They only came back home. That's why the connection was instant. That's what they don't tell you in history. They tell you a violent, traumatic, whitewashed part in history. But in reality, when the Latinos landed over here, them and the American Indians, us, the connection was instant. It was like seeing your cousin, your favorite cousin that you ain't seen in a long time, but you heard stories about them. Yeah, I just heard from your auntie. Yeah, your cousin doing good. Your cousin is overseas stationed, you know what I'm saying, in China, you know what I'm saying, or North Africa. They doing good, though. They gonna try and make their way back home to visit the family, though, you know what I'm saying, but they doing good. They, listen, you ain't see your favorite cousin in a long time. They finally come back. A cousin, what's that? Man, you get that money. Because they got to the bag. When the Latinos and the Indians linked up, they become an economic force to be reckoned with. Real talk, this is history. And y'all know I got the sources. We done read from the sources. We just breaking it down for everybody to understand it. They became an economic force. The only ones to rival the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers economically. He was a threat. They had to divide and conquer and erase history. All right. So now, you got the indigenous American, which is the base. Then you got the admixtures, which is the Latinos. Now, the fusion begins in colonial times. All right. Because of the Sephardics and Moors being absorbed into the Indian tribes, the fusion starts to happen. This is the beginning of the fusion. The indigenous plus Latino equals a proto-Black American identity. Listen closely. This fusion wasn't forced, it was organic. Intermarriage, shared spiritual practice, shared farming and fishing techniques, blending of herbal medicine systems, music traditions merging, naming systems merging, community defense alliances. This created a new cultural identity, the earliest form of what we now call Black American culture. The earliest form of what we now call Black American culture. Okay? Black American culture. This is the earliest form. This identity was not African. It was not white European. It was not purely indigenous. It was a tri-heritage blending of indigenous, Moorish, Sephardic, Latino. But we already said that these are the same people. So is it really blending? Is it really tri-heritage? Is it really not purely indigenous if these the same people just coming back home? All they doing is bringing what they learned from their many years of traveling, encountering, redoing stuff, adding things, understanding stuff, finding and digging and learning about the other world, while the rest of our people stayed in America and we just focused on America. So when they came back home still indigenous ways, with some new tricks that they learned while traveling the world. And this is what they're bringing. That's all it is. Just a revamp of the culture. All right. But all my real ones understand what I'm saying, though. They understand that, are you really mixed if you're mixed with Sephardic, Moor, and Indian, and all these people are Americans anyway? Or is it just the fact that this fusion that mainstream says is just our cousins coming back home and bringing what they learned from around the world back, and we tweaking our knowledge, because now we got knowledge from around the world. Not only was we spreading civilization around the world, we was also learning about the world, because this was the first time that we started leaving. Remember, America's the first land out of the waters. There wasn't really no other lands yet, so niggas wasn't really traveling like that. But once all the lands start coming above water, and other people and other empires and other nations start popping up, start building, and we fast forwarded, by the time we get to like 6,000 years ago at max, and this is just on their time frame, right? Our brothers and sisters left, went around the world, spread American culture, civilization, pyramid building, mound building, cosmology, astrology, alchemy, spirituality, etc., 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 with other people, right? All they did was just learn different stuff about the world. Because how much do you really know if you never left your hood? A lot of us never left our hood. But our so-called Moors, our brothers and cousins who are Moors, Latinos, they left the hood. They came back and telling us, hey, nigga, man, we went to this place called the Caucasus Mountains, G. Man, you'll never believe what the fuck we seen over there. Man, what y'all seen? Man, we seen these goddamn 8-9 foot hairy motherfuckers, nigga. Man, we had to fight these niggas. Nah, for real? Bro, I'm talking about David Goliath shit, bro. We had to get in these niggas in Germany. Damn, that's crazy, fam. Some Indians probably thought the nigga was capping because they never left the hood. Some of us was probably learning some shit like, damn, for real? You got that shit around there? Nigga, we seen mermaids, nigga. Fucking unicorns and shit, nigga. We had to fight all type of people. Shit was crazy. Oh, and they coming over here too. Hold on, what? Ah, yeah, we forgot to tell y'all. Them niggas followed us over here. Oh, bro, why you brought them niggas over here? Man, look, man, hey, they started linking up. We had to retreat. We had to come back to Big Mama house, get our folk. So now your cousins then drug you into some shit. Y'all know how it is inside the melanated family. Stop playing. The same shit we go through now is the same shit we always went through. Now your cousins, your first cousins, your favorite cousins, then drug you into a beef that you ain't even know. Hold on, bro. Whoa, whoa, whoa. They following you? Yeah, bro. They'll probably be here like a couple of years, but they coming. They coming. They coming. So what we need to do, we need to go ahead and build this colony up, right? Create some shit called a canon. Hey, what you mean a canon? Look, man, we learned this shit in France and in China. This shit called canon. Shoot these big ass Look, I'll draw it out for you. Come on, man, stop playing. That's what I'm saying. They taught some shit and they learned some shit and they brought it back and taught the rest of us. This is history. We know that this is history. I done read y'all thousands of books throughout the years. Now we just putting everything together so you can understand it. That's all we doing. We putting all the books that we ever read together so you can understand it. And this is the picture that they hiding from you. It's like that movie Odyssey. Facts, Lou. It's exactly like that movie Odyssey. He said it makes more sense than everybody is from Africa. Hey. The lost tribes came back, but they was never lost, just discovered. Yeah, that's it. The lost tribes are the ones that left America and came back. Us who never left can't be a lost tribe. We ain't never leave. The lost tribe was those who left, those who became Sephardics, Berbers, Turdegs, those who were known as Atlanteans in Greek mythology. You know what I'm saying? German Moors, immortals, you know what I'm saying? All of these, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. And that's not me saying everybody come from America. That's only 2 people. So I don't want people to ever confuse what I'm saying. I'm not saying everybody come from America. I'm only telling y'all about 2 people who come from America. I'm telling y'all about 2 groups of people that come from America. I don't know where everybody get this whole, everybody ain't come from no America. Everybody's not a Shamite. Everybody is not a Negro, Asiatic, you know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't us. Everybody ain't a Naga. All right, here you got somebody got to be the bad guy in the story. That's all I'm saying, right? So I'm only telling y'all about 2 groups of people: Sephardics and Moors. That's it. Sephardics, Moors, Indians. Boom. Now all that other shit, somebody got to show me some books on that, because my book says only 3 people, 3 groups of people came from here, which created multiple different nations around the world. You actually learned they built the cannons in the Book of Chronicles? Nah, facts. How many sunken continents or perceived lost continents? I wouldn't say any sunken continents, but I say that the water rose, and you know there's still land masses at the bottom of this. But I mean, shit, everything is pretty much stationary. You know, I mean, it's all technically one big ass land mat at the sea floor. But anyway, just keep going though. So the deep cultural fusion. The deep cultural fusion created Black American innovation. All right. The deep cultural fusion created Black American innovation. So here's how key cultural elements formed. Starting with the music. We're starting with the music. Right? You know, we're going to start with the music. Right? Music. The biggest global export. When you break down our music, it's going to lead you to indigenous rhythmic systems plus Moorish or Moor polyrhythms. And then you add in that Sephardic layman melodies that we was talking about. This creation gives you spiritual, gospel, blues, jazz, R&B, hip hop, all of which dominate global culture. Every modern genre come from that fusion through Black Americans, right? Through Black Americans. You can only come through us. All right? You can only come through us. What's happening, unknown? Peace. I don't argue with people with 5 followers. You got to come back when people know your name. All right, so, nah, for real. I don't argue with trolls that ain't got no support system on their goddamn page. For real. You ain't got no support. You got 5 supporters. You, your mama, and your sister, G. I can't argue with you. Don't nobody know you but your family. All right? So, peep game, though. So, now, that's the music. Now we get into the spirituality. All right? The spirituality, this. We already know about hoodoo, right? Hoodoo. Indigenous American science. We already know that. I got the documentation. It's already proven. And I don't need no paperwork to tell me about hoodoo when hoodoo is literally Black American spiritual practices that has been demonized and made our people scared of it. They ain't scared of Jesus Christ, but they scared of hoodoo, though. Some shit that your ancestors created for you specifically. All right? But understand it, though. So, hoodoo, you said, from the hoodoo came voodoo. No. Voodoo and hoodoo are two different spiritual practices. They both are indigenous Americans, but those are two different practices. Hoodoo is indigenous to the Mississippian culture only. Voodoo is indigenous to certain Carco Mayan descendants, such as the Haitians, Haitians, certain Jamaican groups, Maroon groups, certain people, but everybody have their different indigenous spiritual practices here. I don't like to say one come from everything, because when it comes to spirituality, it has always existed. So when it comes to spirituality and Gnosticism, we can't say what come first when we know it all existed. Our ancestors just tapped into it. So, and then voodoo and hoodoo is very different. One deals with necromancy, which, you know, necromancy is not really bad if you know what you're doing with it and you do the research. They just make you scared of the shit. And the other ones deal with more of herbs and conjuring ordeal, right? So they're not really the same. But they're both indigenous to America, though, right? Then you got the Obadiah, the Obada, I think that's what it's called. In Jamaica, you got the Santeria, in certain so-called Spanish Latin communities. You got the hoodoo in Mississippian culture. But all of these spiritual practice come from what the Mayans and Olmecs did. Nah, for real. You know what I'm saying? When you do all the research and you line it all the way up, our spirituality systems is literally what the Mayans and Olmecs did and believe. So we culturally still do our indigenous heritage. We just call it something different today because we are called something different today. You know what I'm saying? What's happening, C3? Peace. What's happening, Vic? All right. Everybody good? So the spirituality, you got hoodoo, which is indigenous American science, plus the Sephardic mysticism, right? Gnosticism, plus Moorish cosmology, dealing with the stars and astrology, right? You combine all of those together, you create a uniquely powerful spiritual system that influences church structures. All right, appreciate that live gift. Appreciate that. All right. This is what our spirituality, it create church structures, conjure traditions, folk healing, Southern culture. I'm saying in King Wash, right? That Southern culture, right? That Southern culture. Even when you scared of hoodoo, you still do it. Even when you don't understand Sephardic mysticism, you still do it. Even when you don't understand Moorish cosmology, you still do it. Or even if you do understand it now. Because if I break it down, you'll understand, because the moment that you woke up and you stopped being a Christian or whatever, you woke up, you became spiritual, you know, spirituality, right? You start meditating and shit. When you sit meditation style, you sit Indian style, boom, indigenous American, right? Hoodoo. Okay? You start learning about as above, so below, as within, so without. Gnosticism, Sephardic mysticism. You start trying to be in tune with the stars and zodiacs and life path numbers and learning about, you know what I'm saying? Just all of that type of stuff. Right? The wounded warrior, you know, shadow work and the moon in retrograde and all. When you learn all of that, that's more cosmology. So what it creates is a uniquely powerful spiritual system that influences church structures, conjure traditions, right? You call conjure traditions today, you call that manifesting, right? In today's modern world, you don't say, I'm trying to conjure wealth. You say what? I'm trying to manifest it. You know, law of attraction, G. I'm trying to manifest that into existence, bring it into existence, talking it into existence. That's conjuring. That's why a lot of times you got to think it repeatedly, say it repeatedly, because when you say it repeatedly, it becomes a chant, right? You send frequencies and vibrations to the universe, and hopefully the universe answers and send it right back to you. But it's more work than that. I'm just using an example, right? That's conjure. So conjure traditions, folk healing. When you talk about folk healing, yeah, right. Mekaru, Irish sea moss, right? Cayenne pepper. When you take like a spoonful of that, clear all that shit up. You know what I'm saying? Ashwagandha, lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, right? You know, just all the herbs that we all tapping back into, right? That's folk healing. And all of that is Southern culture, right? Affirmations, right? All of that is Southern culture. You see what I'm saying? So you still do it, whether you understand it or not. But this is our culture of today. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, but our culture as so-called Black Americans is a fusion. And it's a fusion of literally the same colonial stories that we are teaching and reading to people. It is a fusion of Indigenous and Moorish and Sephardicness, Latinos. And this fusion wasn't forced. Like mainstream McGraw-Hill book whitewash stories tell you. It wasn't forced. Cousins coming back home. All right. So P gang. So now we get into what? Language and speech. All right, we get into language and speech. Indigenous cadence plus Moorish poetic phrasing plus Sephardic tonal patterns. Just like how I'm reading this title to you right now, in the way that we always talk when we talking to everybody and everything. We have an indigenous cadence. We have a more poetic phrasing. We have a Sephardic tonal pattern to the way that we talk. This literally is the basis in the fusion which creates the Black American English, aka AAVE, or what we call Ebonics today, that is the most copied and influential English dialect on goddamn earth. Somebody got to say it. I'ma be the engine to say it. Our Ebonics is the most copied, influential English dialect on earth. Niggas rather learn Ebonics than proper English. And our language is contagious. It's contagious. When you live and grow up around us, you can't help but to sound like us. You ever heard an Asian in Louisiana? That shit be hilarious as hell, bro. Nah, I'm being for real. You ever heard of an Asian person with a Louisiana accent? Boy, that shit funny as hell, boy. Hey, I be on a whole nother side of TikTok just rolling. I be like, God damn. That shit hilarious. For real. That shit crazy. All right. Black British people, the Black Anglo-Saxons, they love our language. The Black Anglo-Saxons love our language. And when I say Black Anglo-Saxons, I'm talking about Black Britons, Black UK London niggas. They love our language so much, they gaslighting y'all. There's Black British people that walk around you every day sounding just like you. And they got it down packed so good that it fools a lot of us on a daily basis. Don't nobody tether and copy the Black American more than the Black British. I promise you on that one. I promise you on that one. You find it hilarious and annoying at the same time? Yeah, boy. Asian for the Louisiana shit, that shit crazy as hell. Right, 21 Savage, the Snowfall actor, Delroy Lindo, Idris Elba. Shit, we can continue going. Slick Rick. You know what I'm saying? Shit, the list long, just to give you an example. You know what I'm saying? Super Tether. Yeah, them niggas super tethers. So, P gang. So, the Black American English is the most copied and influential English dialect on earth. Okay? From slang equals global speech. From cadence equals global music flow. From pronunciation equals global aesthetics. Yeah, Slick Rick British. And you know the crazy thing about Slick Rick? He rapped in his British accent his whole career. He ain't never faked the funk for real. Unless sometimes when he do interviews. And in most interviews, he ain't never fake it either. Slick Rick probably the only one that got away with it. Smooth as hell. I went back and listened to Slick Rick rhymes. You can hear the British accent clear as day. I was like, what the fuck this nigga say? Real talk. He mixed it with that Black American though, but man, go back and listen to his shit. You'll hear the British accent. Nigga was jamming to that motherfucker though. Whole ass Brit rapping to you. You ain't even. Oh, once upon a time, not long ago. Your ass over there like, hell yeah, nigga. Y'all helped that nigga go platinum. Damn, it was crazy growing up back in those times. Shit. Let me crap. Oh, shit. Hold on. I done made myself cough. Hold on. I'm good, y'all. I'm good. Hold on. Let me get that last little bit out. I'm good. Hold on. I'm over here laughing and smoking and shit. Hold on. All right. Let's get back to it, though. Man. Shout out to everybody that's in here. Whew. Almost took myself out on live, boy. Said Slick Rick is about the only one from Britain who kept it real by himself. Yeah, he was. He was. Mm-hmm. Him and Idris Elba. Them two probably the only ones that kept it real with you. So now we finally about to get to the cuisine. Okay. Now we get into the cuisine. The cuisine. Ooh, hold on. All right. The cuisine deals with indigenous farming and more Sephardic spices. Okay. It deals with indigenous farming and Moorish and Sephardic spices. Okay. Remember earlier in the live when I was telling y'all that the basis of our cuisine is indigenous for sure, but the Moors and the Sephardics enhanced it a little bit, right? You know, certain spices that they might have discovered around the world that don't grow here, because everything don't grow in America. But we understand that we do supply a large amount of stuff. But other areas do got other spices and other types of meats and vegetables and all that other type of stuff. So the cuisine that our cousins who left America a long time ago, they was making different cuisines, right? Certain cuisines, they stuck with them because it's ancestral, right? They probably always made cornbread everywhere they went or whatever, or some version of it, right? But it's just, you know, probably some new stuff, right? When they went to Hindustan, they probably understood what curry was or some shit. And they remixed that motherfucker. You know, that's why we got curry goat and shit now. So just peak game. So now we get it into the cuisines though. So we talking about indigenous farming plus Moorish and Sephardic spices. Soul food is a fusion cuisine now recognized worldwide. It start right there for those who don't know. All right. You start right there for those who don't know. Soul food is a fusion cuisine now recognized worldwide. All right. Y'all good? Y'all straight? Y'all with me so far? Anybody got any questions? Soul food 999. Soul food is a fusion cuisine. It is a fusion cuisine now recognized worldwide. And we know that soul food being recognized worldwide because every time some shit get to going, the wrong people get their hands on it and whitewash it. And I'm only saying that because I'm coming across videos of this thing called immigrants or like foreigners try soul food. And you know, like one of those little YouTube videos and TikTok videos, right? People trying soul food and shit. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, boy, that ain't no soul food. That shit is very whitewashed. Nah, real talk. I be like, boy, that ain't no soul food. That shit very whitewashed. Boy, what a grease at? Collard green ain't got no juice on it. Mac and cheese look hard. So I don't know. That ain't no cornbread. That's a biscuit. You know what I'm saying? So it's so worldwide that everybody's trying to cook it on the low, taste it and try it on the low and all type of shit. Peep game. Niggas gonna be trying to jack our soul food real soon. For real. Yeah, it's giving soulless. That shit just food. Alright, so peep game. Hey, look, for real. Biscuit and greens is crazy. So look, so that's the soul food. And it ties into the identity because the Negro Indians, as they call us, or American Indians, as we know, plus the Ladino Moors created a people who survived culturally, ethnocide, reinvented themselves, carried ancestral sciences forward, built entirely new expressions of art, music, language, and spirit. Listen to the richness and the greatness of the fusion of the two. We understand that we Indians. But we also understand that we ain't just Indians, right? You know, a lot of us did our genealogy. We got that European in there. It's cool. That European, 9 times out of 10 is a Ladino. I promise you, it is. When we talk about colonial times, right? Anything Ellis Island and beyond that, a white person might be a white person. I'm just being real. When you talk about Ellis Island and beyond, that white person might be a white person. I'm just being real. But in colonial times, that white European is not a white European, right? That is a Ladino. That so-called African is not an African, right? That is a Mauritanian, a Berber, a Moor, right? As I just showed you. Together, they make Ladinos, okay? So when we talk about Ladinos, that's why I always say Sephardic and Moor, right? Because this is who we talking about, okay? So understand that. So because of this fusion of American Indians, aka so-called Negro Indians, right? American Indians and Ladinos, it created children or a future group of people who survived cultural ethnocide or genocide, reinvented themselves, carried ancestral sciences forward, built entirely new expressions of art, music, language, and spirit, right? Spirit. That's deep. That's spirit. Why Black American culture became the most influential culture worldwide? Let's flip the page. That should be good right there, right? All right. Why? Why Black American culture became the most influential culture worldwide? Because it is built from multiple ancient civilizations. We're going to begin right there. Why Black American culture became the most influential culture worldwide? Because it is built from multiple ancient civilizations. When you talk about Black Americans, you talk about nothing but ancientness. You ain't dealing with nothing modern. Everything we still do today is ancient shit that we've always done. We was getting grills 300 BC. We still getting grills in 2025. We was shooting dice in 1 BC in Louisiana, Poverty Point and Coquia Mounds. 2025, somebody shooting dice right now. Somewhere around the world, a Mississippian, a group of Mississippians is shooting dice. Bet them up. 2 dice CeeLo. Which one? All right. Ain't nothing new under the sun, like our ancestors always told us. It was built from multiple ancient civilizations of the same people. Indigenous American. We talking about ancient pre-Columbian civilizations, right? Olmec, Mayan, Levanta, mound builders, right? Mississippians, ancient. And then you're talking about Moors with the mathematical, the architecture, the musical, the mystery and mastery, which is things that came from America, peep game. And then we talking about Sephardic, the deep mystical and linguistic traditions, which came from America. Could these still be American Indians? Going by different names? Peep game though. Don't want to confuse you. But I do want to enlighten you. Okay? When you combine the broken puzzle pieces, because that's what it is. They say multiple ancient civilizations. I say one ancient civilization that broke into pieces. And then when those pieces came back together, you start getting the bigger picture. This is why it started becoming powerful, because it's like collecting all 7 Dragon Balls, right? You put the puzzle pieces together and then magic happened. And I think our ancestors did that on purpose, because they knew it was going to be a point in time where we all have to come back collective consciously to raise the vibrations and the frequencies, and we would figure it out. All right. So when you combine the rhythm, the mysticism, the linguistic complexity, and the survival-based innovations, right? When you combine all of that, right? When you combine all of that, you get a expressive, emotional coding resistant culture. You get a super culture, right? Real talk. You get a super culture. You get a culture that transforms every art form it touches. Tell me I'm lying. We gonna go through. We're gonna go through our culture. And anytime I'm lying, tell me I'm lying. I shut the live off and redo it. But it created a super culture. The puzzle pieces came back together and it created a super culture. Right? It transforms every art form it touches. Every art form we touch, we change it. Right? Every art form we touch, we change it. And everybody mimics it. If I'm lying, tell me I'm lying. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Y'all still there? Y'all ain't sleep on me, right? It's 7 o'clock. Don't tell me y'all sleep. I appreciate that gift, OG Tribe. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Right? Transform every art form it touches. We touch. Become a global standard in music. Become a global standard in music. Shape global slang. We already know that. We shaping global slang every day. Everybody sound like us, or try to at least. Right? We influence fashion worldwide. Y'all already know about that drip. Stop playing about that drip, that swag. All right. Shape global entertainment. Right? He shaped global entertainment. We attract admiration and imitation in every continent. We attract admiration and imitation from every continent. So the Indigenous American plus the Ladino fusion produced a pure cultural power. It created a pure cultural power. A pure cultural power. Listen to what I'm telling you. It created a pure cultural power. Alchemy, right? Abies. The world responds to power too. The world responds to power. We just got to learn how to tap into our power. We got to understand that we ain't come from slaves. We ain't come from nothing inferior. We come from greatness. Great ancestors. That's the first thing. You got to undo the programming that was put in your head to make you vibrate low. So you would never recognize your power. But you got to understand that your power shows every day as long as you're paying attention. It do. You just gotta wake up. The world responds to power. This is why Black American music is global. This is why Black American speech is global. This is why Black American dance is global. This is why Black American fashion is global. This is why Black American swagger or swag is global. This is why Black American spiritual energy is global. Let me say that last part again. Hold on. Let me clear my throat. I don't think y'all heard me in the back. Hold on. me. Hold on. This is why Black American spiritual energy, Black American spiritual energy is global. Your spiritual energy is global. When you look in the etymology of soul, definition number 2, It is an instinctive quality attributed that is felt by Black Americans. Hence, soul music, soul food, soul brother, soul sister, soul. You are walking, talking soul. You are a vibrant energy that vibrates high. You got to understand who you are. This is the reason why your spiritual energy is global, but it's very important to understand that it's global because there's people ciphering your energy globally. Sometimes you waking up tired ain't because your diet or because you done went to work. It's because people is ciphering your energy globally. We stopped protecting our energy and our culture, and we started giving it away. A lot of this stuff that I'm naming to you are sacred practices that we never shared amongst people. At one point in time, our music was sacred. You had to come to the juke joints in the hood to listen to it. Now, we give our music, which is one form of magic, away. Our dance was sacred, ceremonial, because it goes with the music. Now everybody trying to jig. Everybody trying to two-step. Everybody trying to juke and all of this type of, come on, man. And crumping and all of that. Come on, man. We got to understand our culture for once. And we got to understand the depths of our culture. Because the base of that culture is ancient and layered, not recent and simple. The base of our culture is ancient and layered. This is why people study our culture. This is why they study us. This is why a lot of people hate us. This is why a lot of people love us. This is why a lot of people imitate us. Our culture is ancient and layered, and it ain't recent, and the damn show ain't simple. Like I always told y'all, this shit ain't black and white. It's a lot of shades of gray to it. So when people tap into Black American culture, right, we're talking about people outside of us, right? We talking about people outside of us. When people tap into Black American culture, our culture, they are tapping into indigenous technology, Moorish rhythm science, and Sephardic mystic expression. When people tap into our culture, they're tapping into our indigenous technology, our Moorish or Moor rhythm science, and our Sephardic mystic expression. I ain't playing with you. This is what they tapping into. Okay? So, now, we finally made it here. For those who was waiting for this part of the live, we finally made it here, right? We had to start from the beginning. I had to tell you the middle so we can get to the end, or at least the beginning of the end, right? And, you know, live examples, or for the most part, in breaking down our food, because they said our food. And I want to focus on our food because, shit, we just got done having our food. You ain't even know that you was having soul food for Thanksgiving. Think about it. You ain't even know that Thanksgiving food is soul food. At least most of us already did. But most so-called Americans, you know, white Americans, immigrant Americans, or whatever, people who are African folks who just moved here to America, you know, and a lot of folks who partake in this shit, and they are brainwashed by colonial times or whatever the case may be. These people don't even know, right? Hold on. These people don't even know that Thanksgiving food is literally soul food, which is literally Indian food. Okay. All right. Soul food. Soul food. Soul. Sun. Sun. Soul. Soul food is sun food. All right. Soul. Sun. Sun. Soul. Soul food is sun food. For those who missed it, let me run it down to you. The real roots of soul food, ancient indigenous American and Moorish Ladino mix. Soul food is not a slave food tradition. That is cap. It is an indigenous American food system enhanced by Moor, Sephardics, what we call Ladino cooking styles. Okay? Black Americans preserve a culinary science older than the United States itself. Black Americans preserve a colonial science older than the United States itself. Itself. Okay? Itself. So let's go ahead and break that down before we wrap it up for the night, right? Let's break it down for a second. Let's break it down, break it down. All right. So, let's start off with the first thing, the obvious thing. The first and the obvious thing is cornbread. All right, first and obvious, cornbread. Cornbread. Cornbread is literally indigenous American food. And it is a staple in a primary dish in soul food. You can't say you making soul food and ain't no cornbread. Am I lying? It's 71 people in here. I need to see where my people at. Let me see where all my Mississippians and my Caribbeans at. You cannot make soul food without cornbread. If you invite me over for some soul food and you ain't got no cornbread, I'm going to ask for your genealogy. I'm going to ask who your grandmama is. Or at least have some Hawaiian rolls or something shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you ain't got the ingredients to make cornbread, at least get some Hawaiian rolls. You know what I'm saying? At least have some, you know, Hawaiian rolls or something. So, you know what I'm saying? You gotta have some type of substitute to to dodge the bullets. But cornbread is indigenous American. Cornbread is also known as Indian bread. Okay? And it's a staple in soul food. Main dish. The origins of cornbread is 100% American Indian. And I wonder why natives don't know nothing about it. You know, let's keep going. It is 100% American Indian. Cornmeal breads were made by southeastern tribes long before 1492. This why the natives on the reservation don't know nothing about cornbread, because they wasn't on the southeast. All right. So we were making cornbread in the southeast long before 1492. Okay. Known as prone or ash cakes or journey bread or hoe cakes. Right. So, you know, that journey bread, because a lot of tribes who used to, you know, travel and stuff like that, they would have cornbread while they travel so they can have something to munch on until they get to their destination. So they would call it journey bread. Okay. So how did Latinos influence it though? Right. So Moors and Sephardic Jews added baking techniques, the use of fats and oils, right? Spice combinations, sweetened variations, right? No, hey, maybe y'all should just add a little brown sugar in there. You know, little shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we making cornbread, you know, the Moors and Sephardics are like, hey, y'all know something? You know, if you sprinkle a little brown sugar in that thing, I think that shit would be bomb. And then we tried it. And then shit, some people make cornbread with brown sugar, sweeten it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, enhance what was already here, right? Peep game though, peep game. So now continuing. So number 2, right? Candied yams, right? Yams is very indigenous American, but you have Moorish spices blended into it, right? Yams. So the origins of sweet potatoes or yams is indigenous to the Americas. North American tribes roasted them, mashed them, and baked them in clay ovens. When the Moors or the Latinos came and the fusion happened, they brought the cinnamon touch or the nutmeg or the clove or the sugar glazing techniques, right? Or honey caramel cooking traditions, right? They added extra toppings or whatever to the yams to make it candied yams, okay? These blended with indigenous roasting methods, okay? So they blended it with indigenous roasting methods, okay? So the soul food result of this is candied yams. American Indian vegetable is a Moorish dessert technique, gives you candied yams. Now, fried chicken. All right, now you get to the fried chicken. Somebody was asking about fried chicken in here. So I was like, what about the fried chicken? So the fried chicken dodged the hijack with the West African because we know Latinos and Moors was in West Africa, right? And we know that in colonial times, West Africa means Northwest Africa, Mauritania, all right? Or the western part of the Roman province, okay? So just for those who's new to the page. All right, so fried chicken. Right, so-called African or Moorish indigenous fusion, right? This is a Moorish or Moor indigenous fusion. The origin and elements, right? Moorish and Sephardics, right? Spice rub traditions, marinating it in brine, frying in oil, induced broadly through the Iberia, right? Deep frying is what they mean, right? Deep frying, like we was frying stuff. You know how like you fry fish in a skillet? It ain't deep, but you know what I'm saying? The Moors and the Iberians introduced deep frying. So this is when they start deep frying chicken and stuff like that. All right, letting it marinate in certain spices for a few hours or whatever before you get to cooking it. Okay. So now, because of that, all right, now the indigenous American part of the frying chicken is spit or pit roasting or pit cooking, clay pot cooking, okay? You got to have something to deep fry the chicken in. This is where the clay pots come in at, right? And all the cooking material and utensils that we had in the Mississippian, right? So that, and then you get the seasonings, right? The seasonings was indigenous, right? You marinate it, right? Inside the marinade, you got the spices. Y'all know how we flour and do our chicken. Right? The seasonings, herbs like saffron, peppers, and allspice, right? It's the reason why you like Creole seasoning. I'm going to leave it right there. It's the reason why you like Creole seasoning, okay? I'm just being real, right? It's 7 herbs and spices, huh? So now when you get to the so-called African influence, which we know is also Sephardic and Moors, right? You get into what we call battering or battered frying traditions, right? They did that on the coast when the Sephardics and Moors was on the coast of Africa. They battered and fried a lot of stuff, okay? So the soul food result is crispy seasoned chicken cooked with indigenous herbs, Moorish spice contributions, frying technique influences. This dish is a pure cultural fusion, okay? It's a pure cultural fusion. Y'all with me so far? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Anybody got some questions? 12. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I appreciate that. All right, any questions? It's all making sense to you. Okay, you said you good, OG? All right, anybody else good? Anybody got any questions? It's making sense before we continue going. Okay, cool. Just making sure we good, making sure we good. Okay, so now we get into the mac and cheese, right? I kind of been using the mac and cheese as an example for a few weeks now. Now we can go ahead and break down how the mac and cheese that everybody loves so much, right? Some of y'all been sliding that mac and cheese. Man, look, some of y'all was sliding that mac and cheese today. I know some of y'all got them leftovers, right? From Thanksgiving. I know some of y'all got those leftovers. So I know y'all was sliding that mac and cheese. So the mac and cheese is a Sephardic Moorish dairy science, right? Remember what I told y'all? Mac and cheese come from Sephardic Moors, right? Latinos. They brought that with them from the Iberian Peninsula. Okay. So mac and cheese, it's a very Sephardic Moorish dairy science, right? The origins, the idea of baked cheese casserole comes from Sephardic Jewish cuisine, right? Sephardic Jew cuisine. The Moorish Alfredo-like pasta dish in the Mediterranean cheese baked traditions. All right, that shit sound good as hell. I ain't even gonna cap. How it became Black American? Well, enslaved Latinos, right? Now we get to the slavery part, right? But now we know that those so-called African slaves were Latinos, right? So now we can plug it in the right way so we can get an understanding. So the enslaved Latinos, Lustians, cooks in colonies. So it started with the Latinos who were cooks in the colonies, right? They were the chefs for the elite households, okay? The so-called black cooks took cheese sauces, baked pasta techniques, and spice blends, right? And spice blends. Okay? It came from enslaved Latinos who were the cooks in the colonies, who were the chefs of the elites. Okay? They took cheese sauces, baked pasta, and everything else, right? And this created the soul food version that we all enjoyed not too long ago, and some of y'all still smashing today. The macaroni and cheese. It becomes extra creamy, seasoned, white folks. I'm sorry, y'all. I just, you be scrolling on TikTok, you be seeing everybody make this nasty ass mac and cheese. You know what I'm saying? Seasoned. We know that these aren't white people, right? We know that these Iberians and Latinos aren't white people, right? It's seasoned, okay? Just for the Pan-Africans who think these Europeans are white folks, right? Seasoned. We know who don't season shit. All right. So this gives the soul food version of mac and cheese. It becomes extra creamy, seasoned, baked with a crust. Okay? If your mac and cheese ain't got no crust on it, I don't want it. I'm being so for real. If it ain't got no crust, I don't want it. The crust be the best part. I'm gonna be real. I'm that person. I be sliding that crust. All right. So, and it's deeply flavored. Deeply flavored. Again, this ain't white folks. All right. Deeply flavored. This is a Black American innovation. Okay, this is a Black American innovation. Shout out to my Ethabas control that came in. Probably been watching us for a long time. He couldn't take it no more, so he had to write this long ass comment in my comments. This man said, literally, everything you learn from white people. Soul food is just Southern food dramatic. I ain't never seen a German nigga eat soul food. I ain't never seen a German nigga eat soul food, bro. That boy said we learned everything from white folks. If we learned everything from white folks, then why white folks are horrible at cooking this shit? And why do white people, why? Look, y'all, we got to stop the bullshit, okay? If our soul food came from white folks and Germanic people, right? Why is it it's first time for white people to even try soul food? There's hella white people who never had soul food. And then when they eat it, they be like, I've never had nothing like this. That's because it's not their dish. White people would tell you themselves that soul food is not their shit. Native Americans, boy, y'all niggas is scared of the white man so much. That shit sad that y'all give them all that power. The fuck? These people crazy as hell. People, the white man taught you everything you know. Boy, white people can't even cook mac and cheese. But you wouldn't know that though, because all you know is reservation shit. You ain't never left a reservation a day in your life. You don't know what the fuck people be doing out here in regular society. Nah, real talk. Y'all ain't never left the res a day in your life. You don't know what people be doing out here in society. You don't know what people innovated and invented and nothing. Only thing you know is what the BIA tell you. And all them niggas is white themselves. So stop the cap. You said the natives should be on our side? Man, the natives sold us out a long time ago. The natives sold us out a long time ago. Nah, for real, I'm being so for real. They sided with the YT man a long time ago in colonial times. This is why they're federally recognized today, because they helped the feds distribalize, disband, and damn near wiped out the real indigenous people, the so-called black or Negro Indians, as they call us, or whatever the case may be. They helped with the land grabs and all that type of shit. The first police was Native Americans, the first slave catchers and shit. So these niggas been they got the longest history dealing with white folks than anybody else, right? This is why they fight so hard to defend them. This is why they do everything in their power to be racist just like them. This is why they do everything in their power to keep trying to erase our identity just like them. Them niggas, they are fighting for white people acceptance. And that's a personal problem. But what we not gonna do is we not gonna say white folks created soul food, because nigga, please. Nigga, please. What we not gonna do is say white folks created soul food, because nigga, stop. Right, you have to have a soul to create soul food, soul music, and dance in the first place. If you ain't got no rhythm, then how you gonna cook mac and cheese? You gotta cook soul food with the rhythm. If anybody ever paid attention to us cooking in the kitchen, we gotta have that music going. The vibe gotta be right. We be in tune. We cook with a rhythm. Hitting the side of the pot twice, ding, ding. Man, look, stop playing. So, that's the mac and cheese. It came from Latinos, literally, okay? It came from the Latinos. Now, when we get to the greens, right? Because, you know, soul food always got our greens, right? The greens, right? The greens are indigenous and Latino. But the indigenous American part of the greens is the tribes cook poke greens, dandelions, cabbage leaves, right? Cabbage leaves. Let's see what else. Hold on, I'm trying to flip it. Yeah, hold on. Cabbage leaves. There we go. The greens, right? Indigenous American tribes cook poke greens, dandelions, cabbage leaves, and saffraras greens, right? They slowly stewed slow, right? Usually stewed slow with smoked meat, right? We still do our greens the same way today, right? We got the greens and we probably got, you know, smoked neck bones in there. You probably got some turkey necks in that thing. You know what I'm saying? We got some type of smoked meat in that thing, right? Inside our greens. We still do the same shit today, right? Some of y'all greens got it, or y'all probably ate all the meat out the greens, but you know. The Latinos and the Moorish contributions to the greens was a slow simmer technique, vinegar and acid balancing, and oil-based seasoning with a little bit of that onion and that garlic combination to it, right? So that's the greens. So now that fusion created the soul food result called greens, which are slow cooked. You add your smoked meats. You got the broth based. You season with pepper, vinegar, onion, garlic. This is an indigenous stew with Moorish flavor science. Okay? Moorish flavor science. All right? Let's get to the greens. Now the green beans. Okay? Now the green beans. Shout out to everybody that's in. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. So now the green beans, which is purely indigenous cooking. Okay, the green beans is strictly indigenous. So the green beans were cultivated by American Indians for thousands of years. Indigenous contributions, right? Stewing with meats, right? Some of us cook our green beans with the same thing, right? Smoked neck bones, turkey necks, etc., right? Right? Stew with the meat, long simmer for flavor, and seasoning with wild herbs. Now, the seafood, I said seafood. Now, the soul food result of this indigenous green bean cooking is that green beans are cooked with smoked meat, onions, broth, slow simmering. This is an indigenous style food, something that we still do today and the natives don't do. Right? Natives don't do nothing close to this shit. So, right? So what is soul food really? Right? After everything that we just talked about in this live, right? Everything we talked about in this live, from Sephardics, Moors, American Indians, right? Culture, fusion, history, everything. Ancient connections, all of that, right? All of that. My bad, hold on, right? All of that. So what is seafood really? Not seafood. I keep saying seafood. I must want some crab legs or something. But what is soul food really? Okay? What is soul food really? All right? So soul food is indigenous American cuisine with Moorish, Sephardic, Ladino spices and Ladino cooking techniques. Soul food is indigenous American cuisine. Remember the foundation, the base that we was talking about. And it has Moorish, Sephardic admixture like spices and cooking techniques with certain things. Our soul food is ancient, scientific, ancestral, fusion-based, created by Negro Indians and Latinos, not slaves. It was created by Negro Indians and Latinos, not slaves. It is the food of community, resilience, ceremony, festivals. It is the food of community, right? Our community eats it. Mississippians, Caribbeans, right? Our community. Resilience, ceremony, right? Ceremony, right? Funerals, Thanksgivings, weddings, right? Ceremonies, festivals, Thanksgiving, first harvest, right? The Native Americans don't eat this shit, dog. The natives don't eat this. So how are they the Indians? How are they the Indians? They don't eat this. They don't even eat nothing remotely close to this. How is this African? Motherfuckers in Ghana don't eat this. Senegal don't eat this. Congolese don't eat this. Nigerians don't eat this shit. They don't make that shit over there in the Zulu nation. How is it African? It's not. It's not even. It's not Native American Siberian. It's not African. Then what is it? It's not slave food. Then what is it? Well, the real roots of soul food is ancient Indigenous and Moorish, or Latinos for a better terminology. It is a culinary science that is older than the United States itself, meaning that our ancestors, our grandmamas, have been cooking this shit for thousands of years. Excuse my terminology, but I gotta put emphasis on it. It means our ancestors been cooking this dish for thousands of years. This is called culture continuation. Culture continuation. It means the continuing of a culture. This is something that proves that we are indigenous. Because one thing about being indigenous is you got to have culture continuation. Okay? And we still do our culture. We still do our traditions. We still speak our language and our fusion ebonics. We still do everything. Only thing changed was the times. But the culture is still the same. The descendants are still the same. And everybody know who you are, except for you. Everybody know who you are, except for you. Okay? All right. So, with that being said, we've been on for 3 hours, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for the likes, the love, the gifts. Appreciate all the support, all the love. Shout out to all the new supporters, the new, the people who hit the plus button and start following the page. I hope y'all enjoyed the live. Hope it was very insight. Hope you got some gems from it. Hope you got your screenshots. Y'all know what it is. Y'all the real MVPs. I love doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't have no platform. If y'all haven't grabbed a copy of my book, the link in the bio. I got 3 books out. Eclipses of America, Reclaiming Our Consciousness Part 1, and Reclaiming Our Consciousness Part 2. Right? Shout out to those who grabbed a copy of the books. I hope y'all enjoying it page for page. And if you are interested in a copy of the book, again, just hit the link in the bio. It take you straight to my page where I'm selling my books. $10. $10. You get 350 pages of some of that raw information that I can't talk about on TikTok. But I also supply plenty of references so you could do your deep dive and research in your own time as well too. You know what I'm saying? It's no more that Pan-Africanism shit. You know what I'm saying? We ain't doing no FBA shit or none of that. The foundation, like we read, is American Indian. It's always gonna be American Indian. We big Mississippians. We big mound builders, and that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Genealogy over DNA testing. Genealogy is the key, so always do your genealogy and always dive into those books. And if you need questions on what books to dive into, feel free to hit my DM and I'll slide you a couple of book titles and everything like that. Or again, if you want to purchase my book for $10, you can hit the link in the bio, and all the references and all the books is in there as well too. So the age of awakening is around us. It's time to wake up. It's time to teach the youth and our kids the real big Indian business, boots on the ground type shit. With that being said, I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Just stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Just stay tuned. If I do go in the morning, it'll probably be like 8 o'clock East Coast time, 8 o'clock East Coast time to get it out the way. Catch everybody when everybody fresh, waking up and everything like that. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace. See y'all in these TikTok streets, man.